All right. And we are live. The last word, Lord Cognito, Ebontis, and Ty Guy not murdered over the campfire. Travis, what is going on, gentlemen? We just got a little family episode going
Next
on.
time you introduce somebody that way, you got to give them context, please, for the love of...
Nah,
seriously, just context.
We didn't kill Travis.
Ambiguous. Anything could happen.
Anything can happen Thursday. Yeah, like Big Bang Theory. Anything can happen Thursday, apparently, is what we got. And that could honestly be how tonight goes, because we are joined by a friend of the show, general regular guest. We actually had a good cadence going for a little while, but without any introduction, Teddy. Late notice here, but we got you in. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Where we air grievances and help dysfunctional guardians get through their Destiny problems. So I'm excited to talk about Destiny.
Nice. The homie.
With the family.
You already know what it is. And then we got the amazing Not Murdered Travis.
Please, again, stop with that. The comments are going to be so broken.
We literally broke some rule by saying murdered. But anyway, being that you're not murdered, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm very not murdered this week. I've been working on a game review for IGN for the past just a little over a week called The Rift Breaker, which is one of the most sphincter clenching games I've played in a long time. It's quite stressful, and I had to play it for 50 hours straight with basically no breaks. So that review is live on IGN.com right now. You can watch that. I think it'll be on YouTube soon. And then I'm off to my next review, which is Riders Republic, the Ubisoft sports game.
The trial,
obviously,
the free trial's going on.
Obviously,
right now.
Yes, it's called the trial week, and you get to play for 4 hours. Unless you're me, then you get to play as long as you want. What up? And obviously, I'm uniquely qualified because I was, in the X Games or something. No, I'm not. But I do like sports games, so I'm excited.
Salute.
It's been a busy review a couple of weeks for me. How about you, E? How you feeling these days?
Well, today was an interesting, absolute trash fire of a Twitter world. So we'll get to that here in a little while. So yeah, when you open that can of worms, every so often they explode. But it's been fun trying to get back into New World a little bit. Still chopping trees. Did my first dungeon last night, even though I got hard carried through thanks to Ares and clan that was in there. But yeah, we've got, still been working on like the solo flawless legend difficulty things, which we will also touch on. Those were something. But you said you actually like sports games. Actually, I don't know if I really knew that. What are some of your top sports games that you've kind of played over the years? Any certain genres that you like, or what's up?
Oh yeah. I'm like a big FIFA guy. Yeah, I've been.
Well, that's the last time you get to call it that, I hear.
Yeah, that news has been crazy to me. I've been following that. Like, obviously 2K is super fun. NBA 2K, if you guys have ever played those games, they're super underrated.
Oh yeah.
And then I play lots of I played like a lot of BMX games and SSX, obviously super cool back in the day.
SSX.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. So
nice.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love SSX.
That was like SSX Tricky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tricky
for the original Xbox. So good. So underrated as a game.
Both of those, and wasn't there like a 1080 snowboarding? Something with 1080.
Oh,
what is that?
What's the one? It's like Dark something where you're going downhill and it's kind of like got a Dark Summit. That game is
I don't think I played that.
GameCube.
That's like
it's PS2 maybe.
Yeah, it's like an RPG game. It was in the PS2 original Xbox generation, but it's like got RPG elements and story, but you're racing downhill through all these different levels trying to complete objectives. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
And then
somebody in chat said Excite Bike. Are you that old?
Oh, salute. Yeah, that's right. OG. That's OG talk, Scotty B.
That's OG. Yeah. That was on. I think I played that game on the Game Boy, the old brick. The original brick was where I played that one.
Wow.
I played like some Escape from Camp Simpsons game on... I mean, I played other things on Game Boy, but that's one of those random ones I played. And I still remember that game was an absolute pain in the butt to beat, too. But yeah, Game Boy and the brick, man.
Those games were hardcore. There was a Star Wars game where you have to play as like an Ewok and you kill Emperor Palpatine, which was canon, by the way. That was canon in Star Wars until Disney uncanonized it. Crazy world. Anyway,
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
that was one of the 7 times Emperor Palpatine died, according to his old Wikipedia page. He's only died twice.
He's got like a headstone that just has like this day, that we don't pick one.
Yeah, literally. The entry said these years to these years, then these years to these years, then these years to these years. Now it only says it twice. Okay, so Disney's really reined it in. All of the
Tecmo Bowl.
Oh yeah,
Scotty said Tecmo Bowl, Tecmo Bowl, and Tecmo Super Bowl. Those were like old school football games, and you get Bo Jackson just like run by everybody. I think that's who that was. You could play with.
Yeah.
And
I forgot. How could you forget? The football game where like you're like punching people in the face. What's that one called?
Blitz.
What, Blitz?
Oh, Blitz was a blast.
Blitz
was
2000.
fun.
Yeah, that game's amazing.
Okay, so here's one I got to see if anybody ever played this. Base Wars.
Tell me about
Base Wars.
Basically, it's robots playing baseball.
Really?
Go look it up. It's
Base
on like
Wars.
NES. Yeah, it's NES. It came out in 1991. I never tend to find people who have ever played Base Wars.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah, you had robots playing baseball. You could get like different upgrades and like they had like horsepower. There was like it was an oddly deep game. Like
Konami.
Go look it up.
Ultra Games is the publisher. Wow, check
The
this
one
out.
I played that I never hear anybody talk about on the SNES was Combat Basketball. It was like a sci-fi basketball game where like your characters had like jet boots and you'd like fly in the air, and it was pretty cool, like multiplayer game. But yeah, and then if you get into like racing games, which sometimes sports and racing games are combined because I feel like they just made a genre for games nobody likes and just like disrespected them in the corner. Yeah. But yeah, like if you get into car games, like my history with like car games is super long. Gran Turismo, OG on the PS1 days.
Nice, getting them licenses.
Huge Forza fan. Oh, dude, that's how I learned to drive. No joke.
License,
I was a
bro.
poor kid. Literally, I took those license classes like in Gran Turismo. That's how I learned to drive straight up, like crazy.
Turismo.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Forza 5. By the way, like that's gonna be one of my big fall games.
Huge.
But I will also say, like for me, I also died a little bit inside this week. Because of a very specific
non-Destiny reasons.
Yes, for non-Destiny reasons, a very specific delay has me just like yeah. So Elden Ring, which was gonna come out like was it January 30th, like 3 weeks from Horizon and like Witch Queen, they were gonna be 4 days apart. That was already like I can try, we'll see, who knows. Now, which I'm sure everybody's heard about if you follow gaming websites, I just haven't, talked about it too much on my stuff. Horizon Zero Dawn is on February 18th. Witch Queen, Savathûn are on February 22nd. Elden Ring, Saints Row, and there's, I think, one other one in there as well, which I'm probably forgetting, are on the 25th. That was on the 18th.
No, that was 18th.
So you've got 7 days, and you've got 5 games, 3 of which you take Horizon, Elden, and Destiny. Large open worlds, like 50 hours, 50 hours.
That's what it is. God of War Ragnarok is the other one.
You're hilarious. No, it's not. It's not coming then, too. No.
Isn't it February?
No.
They didn't announce a date. They didn't put a date.
There's no date on that. God of War got announced for PC. That's all.
Yeah.
But no, I was like, so I was going to have like 3 solid weeks to just be me and Elden Ring and however long it took me for me to get through it. Probably the quiet time after any festivals, maybe solstice stuff, which shouldn't take too long. And then now it's a week of hell. And for me, actually, because I don't want to do what Travis just described, like 50 hours in a short amount of time to try and like play Horizon because I want to enjoy it. Because then Witch Queen is going to suck up every waking minute that you've got. But then 3 days later, Elden Ring comes out. So even if I start Horizon, Elden Ring is going to be tugging at me to check it out. So it's like, I don't even know when I'm going to start either. And I still don't know which one I'm going to start first. But I'm just like...
you know damn well you playing Elden Ring. We're going to stop it.
Sifu.
Oh, that's me.
Oh, Sifu's on the 22nd.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm playing that.
Sifu's on the same day as Witch Queen. Which one are you going to pick then?
Saints Row is on the 25th.
I'll play Sifu when I'm waiting in the queue because I can't get in the server on Witch Queen.
That's fair. I'll
That's
give you
right.
that.
You know day one. You're not getting in that server day one.
Witch Queen? Yeah, those are...
Yeah, I'm while it's in the queue,
hey,
I'll switch inputs on the OLED and go right over to Sifu. While I'm waiting, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
We've been through this rodeo before.
Picture.
I used to take the day of release off, and then I started to learn over multiple Destiny releases to take the day after release off.
After release,
That's like
my
the
man.
strat. That's the
You
strat,
see, that's
100%.
OG talk. That is a
That is
veteran.
OG talk, for
That is
sure.
OG. He knows what really goes on with these launches.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
never take. I've made that mistake so many times, and you sitting there
Me
in that
too.
queue.
Me too. I would have to take 2 days off because of like one would just be a wasted day, and then the other one I would actually get to play.
Absolutely.
But now I don't have to take any days off because my job is to review Destiny when it comes out.
Hey, there you go.
Best of
Get
both worlds.
paid to
I'm
play.
really winning.
That's the good stuff.
That's right, baby. That's right.
That's right. That's
But
right.
yeah, I was like, that was just like, for me, I was like, it was looking so like Horizon was still going to get neglected just as it did last time because of Zelda, but Elden Ring was at least going to get like some dedicated time. And now,
I feel you.
because it's going to be Friday, and depending on where the raid falls, if you want to be in that thing, even for, you know, even a halfway attempt of like day one, which I'm sure Teddy will have at day one, which is fine. But even if I just want to be in a group to see it blind, it's still, there's a fair amount of dedication up until that thing kicks off, in which like Elden Ring is just like kind of distracting from it. So
Yeah.
I was not thrilled. It's going to be rough, but February will be a bit spicy. And now January
actually
doesn't have a whole lot I'm looking forward to. Like January's
I
like,
know. Yeah.
January's
That's
late.
fine, dude. You're
January's
gonna be
light.
playing Halo. You're gonna be like
Mhm.
the December releases are pretty ridiculous. So I think you'll be fine in January. You're gonna have so much to catch up on.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
that's
always,
true, too.
my backlog is forever, so that's true.
Backlog's crazy. Yeah, I've been doing my backlog too.
February 22nd is a Tuesday, right?
Yes, they always do
Probably.
Tuesday. I'm sure they
I
wouldn't
hate
do it
those
otherwise.
Tuesday releases. Why would they do that?
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Crazy.
But yeah, you may as well not try
You're
and
still
log
afraid
until
of
like.
the movie industry. Still afraid of the movie industry.
Well, I mean, but then
Now?
Elden Ring's a Friday. You got what is it? Saints Row's a Friday, and then Horizon's a Friday
Sure.
before that. So that stuff's
Yeah.
all weekend
Yeah.
based. So
Yeah, games industry been adapting with the release dates.
and apparently
See.
February
And
is
Nintendo led the
now.
way.
Yes.
Nintendo did lead the way.
Yes.
They did.
And
And
Nintendo
Skyrim.
led the way. I'm sorry, go ahead, Teddy.
Skyrim and
Yes.
Nintendo were the
Yeah.
first
Oh, that's
groups
right. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
release a game on a Friday.
Mhm.
Granted, Skyrim was doing like the date because it was the 111,
Yeah.
Yes.
2011 thing, but
Yeah.
Nintendo was the first one really to be like, screw Tuesday, we're doing Friday, and then
Mhm.
everyone kind of was like, oh, movies don't matter for video games, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also give them credit for I think Nintendo kind of like pioneered that March kind of springy, like I remember the Switch was a big
Yeah.
deal. Like people were like it's coming out in March and it
Yeah,
like
console.
killed. And
Yeah.
like Breath of the Wild killed. And it was just like
Well, I mean, you
Yo,
literally you did a brand new Zelda banger with
Yes.
a launch. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's one of the best games that they're going to have on the console for. It is still one of them,
Yeah.
and it was the first
Till
game
the
that
sequel
came.
comes out.
Yeah, until the sequel comes out with the next Switch or whatever Switch 2 is or
They're-
something. Who knows? But
They're the only company that can release a major product like a console in March and get away with it.
And
Like
get
if
away
Microsoft or
with it.
Sony
Yeah.
did that, it
Yeah.
wouldn't
I
do well
agree.
until the holidays.
I agree. I completely agree. They changed the game with that. I remember that. I was like,
They,
wow, this is
the
crazy.
one I remember is Dying Light. Do you guys remember that game?
Yeah, that was like a
one
January
of those
release,
weird
right?
Games. It
Mhm.
came out in like January or February, and I
was
remember
early.
games were not coming out at that time, and people kept referring to it as like a sleeper hit, or because like it came out at a time nobody was expecting, and it was like a really popular game. And then after that, I remember being like, oh yeah, people are going to start releasing in that window, and now it's
Mhm.
like, now I feel like there are more games coming out in the spring than in
Yeah.
the fall, at least this year, because
Yeah.
there's so many damn delays.
I
But
agree.
It's like
I agree.
yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Crazy. Because I honestly would get resentful, especially if you like Xbox. Like a lot of this stuff always was just jam packed. It was always November. And I'm like, oh my God. Like it was just crazy. So I like these spread out cadences. I like these spread out releases. And it's just what it is. What we realize is just so many damn games every month for the most part, or every other month is something substantial, that is, usually moves the needle in some way. So gaming has changed, man. All those like norms and tropes really thrown out the window. You can kind of release when you want if the game's big enough and you got the space.
Yeah, I think Nintendo really nailed it with when the Switch came out. They essentially have been using the same model for the last 5 years, which is you have like your quarterly big Zelda, Mario, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, and then every single month of the year there's a minor game like a Mario Party or it's still like a first party game, but sort of like a spinoff usually.
Yeah.
And they've been doing that basically since
WarioWare.
launch.
Yeah.
WarioWare, something like that. And it's totally working for them because they're constantly in the conversation. It's usually the number one selling console, and it works on 7-year-old hardware.
I bought that OLED just for the Ethernet port, Teddy.
Fun fact, because of the USB-C port as well as Nintendo's bad servers, it actually caps out at about 100 megabits per second.
Wow.
Even if you have gigabit.
That's still got to be faster than their actual wireless, though.
Oh, I'm sure.
It is, but it's abysmal. Like I'm doing the transfer right now, and I'm on day
100
3.
megabits is abysmal, and people in like rural Texas are like, I will happily take that.
He will take that 100.
Well, it's a megabit. That's what they say.
Why you have to put him in that category? Like he is that guy. You hilarious.
He's Dallas. Have you not forgotten my debut on the show?
Oh, yeah.
Dallas. Yeah.
Could not
I
forget
love how
that
he's
one.
this born and raised Texan.
Born and raised.
I was like, do you know where I was born? Not in Texas.
Where were you born?
I doubt you'd even guess. Because I don't
wouldn't guess
resemble
Kansas.
it anyway. Nope. I went to school there, but no.
Chico State. You're born on the college campus. Arizona State University.
I was
AZ.
born in Connecticut, if that tells you anything.
Connecticut. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
that
way off.
surprised me.
I lived in both
Yeah.
Sacramento and Rancho Palos Verdes, but I was too young to remember that one. So
I feel like you were born in a fraternity house. You look like you were. I'll just say that.
I don't
love
even know
the
how to take that, but I'm pretty sure you're a bit of a jerk for saying it. Whatever is going on in there, I don't think I came off well. That's all I gotta say.
Savage. Oh my god, I'm done. So what's going on with this game, man?
So
What's happening?
there's this
What's happening
Bungie
with this
thing.
game?
I love you.
I guess the question is we got to begin with what happened earlier in the week, right? We got to begin with the news that happened from a Reddit post with a bit of clarification. Sorry, DMG, for the quotes there. But basically with what was going on with the dungeons and the Witch Queen Deluxe Edition season passes and how everything's being given to you next year. To bring some of you guys up to speed in case you haven't either seen my video that I already did, which some of you have, or if you just, enjoy this show and find it somewhere else. Basically what was going on is you've got the standard edition of Witch Queen, which is literally your campaign, the raid, the new glaive, the weapon crafting. You're going to Void 3.0 free updates and stuff like that. That's your standard. It's $40. And this is US prices in case you're everywhere else. I know Dakota's probably going to be paying 50% more. Then you've got the deluxe edition of Witch Queen. You've got everything I just said with the normal. Then you've got the 4 seasons, 16, 17, 18, 19. You've got 2 dungeons, and you've got SMG ornament and catalyst, and then you've got like a cosmetic sparrow or something. Now, one distinction already there that some people may not have been aware of or may not have realized, even though I honestly forgot Beyond Light worked this way, but some didn't used to. Season 16 that runs concurrently with Witch Queen is not included with Witch Queen. Now, Beyond Light worked the same way because you can actually see Beyond Light plus 1 season, or Beyond Light Deluxe for the whole year. I've always bought the Deluxe, so I haven't really paid attention to that. But if you go back to, say, Shadowkeep, I cannot remember the name of the season with all the Vex invasion on the moon off the top of my head.
Undying.
Oh, yeah.
Undying. Season of Undying. That
yeah.
came with Shadowkeep. So if you bought Shadowkeep, you got the Season of Undying. But, say like Season of the Worthy and Season of Dawn, those were separate afterwards. So this time, season 16, 17, 18, 19, and the 2 dungeons, that stuff, that's part of the deluxe package. Then you have the 30th anniversary. That's just an add-on from there. But you have $80 or $40. The big distinction came to light, basically, when it was clarified by Cosmo, to say, if you buy the standard, you can upgrade to the deluxe later, get the whole package of the seasons and the dungeons. If you buy the standard, and then, of course, if you buy the deluxe, you got it all. So that's covering everything. But if you buy the standard, and then say you buy like season 17, which most people would assume where one of the dungeons is going to fall because they're likely going to go raid, dungeon, raid, dungeon. Say you buy season 17, the dungeon that will launch during that season is not included in that season. Same thing with whenever the other one is. So now a lot of things seem separated. So one of the comments was like, thank you for the information, but I know you're about to get eviscerated for this. Like, I mean, the community managers have a tough job. Even today, like my tweet that blew up, which we'll get to here in a little while, even if it was a bug, which they're working on at the moment. Community managers, shout out to Cosmo, DMG, Nicole, who doesn't do as much of the forward-facing stuff. She's more marketing, we figured out. Those guys never have an easy job, anybody handling that. So just hats off to those guys for having an ultra thick skin, because it's not their choice to code anything or choose pricing. They're like the deliverers of all the messages. So I wanted to shout out both of those gentlemen for all of the crap that they tend to take. That being said, we are at a point where we discussed this literally last week. Pricing's getting a little questionable, and now we're literally dividing and portioning up it even more depending on when you come to this. And they're, in a sense, pushing you in a certain direction, which is obviously the deluxe. But if somebody does end up at a point where they a la carte some of this stuff, they really are going to be in a weird spot come middle of season 18 and be like, all right, what do I have to buy to play the stuff that I want to? And it's almost going to be a hard explanation, and I know what it is right now, but later on, I'm not going to be able to tell you. So that's the general idea. I wanted to get your guys' takes on this one, Teddy, as we brought you in as a guest, because I know you got some very smooth talking, but nice hot takes coming in. You get to go first because, I'm just kind of curious your takes on this one. Actually, I haven't heard yours on this yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So we kind of talked about this last time I was on the show, but the pricing structure is like was already kind of ridiculous. Like Travis, I think, really nailed this. And now you're just adding like another layer to this mess. Like we're in the thick of it, so we understand. I'm not saying we accept it, but we understand like what's happening. Like, you know,
can I interrupt you? It felt like Dr. Stringer. We in the end game now. The way you said it was mad hilarious.
We're in the thick of it. He's over here just like.
I was trying to keep it together like we're so deep in. Continue. I'm sorry.
There's only one solution to so now I got to get a wizard right for Halloween. Crap.
I need it.
Oh, I already know my costume for Halloween.
I hope you're not wearing that scarf in that heat.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
No,
I gotta see that with it.
Yeah, I just want the cinnamon toast. Somebody wore a giant cinnamon toast crunch costume to, I think it was a Mets game. Go look it up. There's a cinnamon toast crunch costume that somebody's in, and it's like behind the umpire, and he's like, ball, and the cinnamon toast crunch guy's like calling. Anyway, sorry, back to where you were.
Okay.
So like we understand the pricing structure. I'm not saying like we are okay with it, but we have a general, like, a good understanding of how it works. But like, just talk to any of your casual Destiny friends, and without explaining any of it, none of the controversy, none of the hoopla, just be like, read this. Does this make sense to you? And I guarantee you they're gonna have questions. I think someone in a board meeting in the business minds were like, how do we get more money? And on paper it makes sense, and that's their job, is to get more money. But then we get to the consumer part of it, and we're like, no, this just doesn't work. I think it's really telling in hindsight now that they released Prophecy for free, because I think that was an experiment. I think that was, can we release this for free? And what's the feedback / monetization we get off this? Okay, now we're advertising that a whole year's worth of seasonal content is one raid or two raids, 2 dungeons. Now we got to charge for this because this is the aspirational end game content. And so I'm assuming that's their justification for how they're going to charge for it. I think there's a way better way to price this. I don't know what that solution is. I'm not going to pretend like I know the metrics behind it, but there's got to be a better way than like, okay, you can buy the $60 version of the game, and then there's a $80 version of the game, and then there's also the dungeons separately, and then there's this other stuff, and like there has to be a better way to do this. Like this just doesn't work in my mind. But maybe there are enough gullible people that are buying it that I guess they're making enough money. The other thing too that I think is tangibly related is they announced Forsaken is going to get sunset, and then you can still buy Forsaken right now. Like you can spend money on it.
That's
at this moment.
That I will say is like the one part in my video that I said is like, you have some of this, you have some of the nerfs. You're good. with regards to Festival, which we'll kind of talk about a little later too. But a couple things recently have been doing that. And then for me, the one that is, and I said this previously, is the fact that you can go to Steam right now, and I've seen it's discounted on like PlayStation or Xbox. It might be a little bit cheaper, but if I go to Steam right now, Forsaken is $24.99. There is no the only people that's going to get are the uninformed, and that is like the worst person you want to take advantage of to then basically burn, because anybody who's like, hey, Ebontis, should I go play Destiny? I'm like, well, if you wait 6 weeks, this will be free. You can experience this. You might be able to look for sales for some of these other things. But it's like somebody who's just like, hey, I picked up Destiny for free. What's the oldest campaign? Okay, Forsaken. I think that was the one that came out first. Let me start there to get the story going and see what's up. That's the only person that's going to get probably pay the $24.99 is the uninformed. And that doesn't feel good to me. And that was, I wanted to like pull that out again, because I think honestly, as soon as they made that announcement, that should have been free, because it's a limited time that it's only going to be costing you money anyway. So it's like, it may as well be, it's like, hey, by the way, Forsaken's free for the next 4 months instead of 2. You got somebody who wants to play it. It's totally free. Have your friends go check out what happens in that campaign, see if they want to join and get ready. That's a good PR move. And again, Hogue said the same thing. He's like talking about messaging and PR and everything else. It's like, that's the good way to do it, as opposed to right now is like trying to catch the unsuspected for money. And I'm like, that feels scummy. And as you said, for like the board to make a money decision, it's like money versus like public image. At some point, you can only like pull so many times at that before it does burn you. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did want to say that.
This is the last thing I'm going to end on. Here's my controversial take that I generally don't say this publicly.
I like Teddy intuition takes. Go ahead.
Bungie has conditioned their fan base in such a way, because they were one of the first, if not the first, to do what they're doing, that their fan base, as much as they complain, will always be okay with this kind of stuff in the long run. And because they so intuitively understand the marketing push, in a month and a half when they release some trailer for the Dungeon of the Gauntlet,
when Witch Queen comes, we're gonna forget all about this. Facts. Big facts.
They absolutely announced the Forsaken information and the dungeon information right now when they know the player base is probably low and people aren't paying as much attention because other stuff is going on. They're not stupid. No one at Bungie's stupid. Like they know what's going on. So I believe that they have conditioned their player base in such a way that people will always be okay with this. Maybe not me personally, or maybe not you guys, but it's just the way this game works. Like no other game gets away with any of the stuff they're doing. It's almost like Nintendo. Nintendo also has really scummy practices sometimes too. Man. But
World of Warcraft too.
But we expansion pass online.
Right, but it's like Nintendo, right? So we're like
Bluetooth.
Nintendo. Yeah. Bluetooth. It was there the whole time.
It was that I think that burned me harder than anything else recently when I figured out that was a software update for my 4-year-old OG Switch that's sitting over here that now can pair with. I was like, are you? I was so mad at that.
Yeah. So I just think they're one of those companies that they've built up so much grace over the years with people, or goodwill with players, that they can reasonably get away with a lot of stuff. And their messaging it's very usually careful how they if you look at the wording, like think about the Destiny content vault for a second. I was actually thinking about this a few weeks ago. It popped in my head that it's just like the Disney vault. Disney did the exact same thing and was like, we're going to vault this thing to make it seem like we're not taking it away from you and then sell it to you later. Which is exactly what they're doing.
Hogue mentioned that in his video. I think when I listened to
it. They do this. Like, that's crazy to me. Who can get away with that? No one can get away with that. There's very few companies that can get away with that. So, Disney. So, sorry, Bungie. I love you guys. But, like, come on. This is a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, Travis, where are you at?
Travis.
I've been talking about this for a really.
He's like, you know, you got to charge up. That's the charge up.
Okay.
That's how
big breath. Here we go.
Here you go.
I've been talking about this for so many years. I talked about it on Fireteam Chat when this was like a very early concern, basically when like microtransactions rolled out, like at the beginning of Destiny 2, and as they progressively got worse. And I still think that Bungie is so behind the curve on it, and I don't know that it's malicious. I think it's just the fact that they don't know what their business model is, and they're trying everything, right? Like they've got the microtransactions of a free-to-play game. They've got the season pass model of a games as a service game. They've got the expansions of a AAA game, and now they've got piecemeal add-ons of like a game that has like DLC, right? And they just haven't gotten rid of any of their legacy ones. And obviously something needs to change. I don't think this solution, as a lot of people in the community are suggesting, is to go to a subscription model for a few reasons. One, I think the subscription model is super outdated. I don't think it has a place in the current ecosystem of video games, really anywhere. There's some games that could get away with it, like WoW, but I just don't think that when you have games like Apex that are free, you can just log on and play them for free the entire time. Games that have its own subscription are like dinosaurs to me. Like I can't even wrap my head around that. And the fact that you're going to then put a subscription model and lock stuff behind it like microtransactions, which let's be honest, those are never going away, right? But like that season passes.
I'm waiting for Tess
like
to get in the vault. She ain't get announced to get into the content vault yet.
And the thing that I think really scares me is that when players, Destiny players, are saying they need to move to a subscription model, what they are not thinking about is the distinct possibility that Bungie listens to them and doesn't change anything about their model when they're already charging you. They just add a subscription. Because if you think that that's an impossibility, think about what's happened the entire time Destiny 2 has been a game. They've been adding models and not removing old ones. So if you think that it's impossible that they could then go subscription and then keep all the other ways they're charging you, you're out of your mind, in my opinion, right? So like it scares me that people are like giving them more reasons or more ways that they could potentially charge us and thinking like, oh yeah, if they add this way, obviously the old ways of doing it will go away. I just don't really buy that. I think Bungie must be making enough money with season passes, or they could charge more for season passes, with seasonal content, with microtransactions, to do away entirely with charging us for the major expansions or like the major content. And I really do not believe anybody who says that like, oh, they need the money for major expansions or that they need to charge us for dungeons separately. I just don't believe that. I see them building new campuses and hiring hundreds of employees and all this stuff. And all my friends who play Destiny spend like $60 every time there's an event. They buy all the, not to call you out, DJ Oros, but your whole wallet belongs to Bungie when it comes to these events, right?
Leave my boy alone.
I'm sorry, but I see him flossing with all those holographic emotes, and I'm like, this guy is just.
That's DJ's age. That's my guy, but he's in.
He's not the only guy.
Everyone,
a
lot of people.
Lots of people. They spend money on this stuff.
Same.
And I just don't believe that they need the old way of doing it. I think that they're afraid of doing it, or that they just haven't put a lot of thought into it because they're so focused on just creating content and growing the business, which I totally get. But they've created a bit of a monster when it comes to this, and it's not friendly to their players. And it's also, I think more importantly, super hard to navigate. Like you guys are saying, if you don't buy the deluxe edition, you're in for it, dude. Like you have the fact that they don't know that if you buy Forsaken, you can't play it in a couple months. And now they're going to sell you an individual dungeon that will someday be content vaulted. You have to assume, right? So you're paying like $10 for this one specific thing that's going to go away eventually. And I think that does not fit the model of putting things in a vault and taking it out and having that ability, describing all of the content on your game as part of a live service that could go away at any time, does not match with the model of selling people expansions, selling people piecemeal dungeons. None of that makes sense. They just need to get rid of that and come up with a new model.
I mean, it would be man. It's like it would be the Bungie number just to make it $7.77 a month.
Yeah, savage.
No, but okay,
really give them any ideas.
So no, I was like, that's just entertainment. But I was like, so what is the solution to this though? Because you take something like Witch Queen, which in theory is Witch Queen in the full year of content for it's $6.67 a month. If you break it out, that's what it costs. So in turn, is it upfront or monthly? If that covers everything that you're going to do for the year, do you care which way it gets you?
I say neither. I say both of those models are bad. I think charging for expansions does not fit a live service game, and charging subscriptions is an outdated way of doing it. They've got microtransactions in the game. They have season passes. They have a seasonal model. Their entire game is built around a games as a service model like Fortnite or Apex. And they are the only ones who think that they should be charging for expansions or considering subscription or any stuff like that. I don't think they need either. I really don't. Witch Queen draws people to your game, and then incentivizing them with microtransactions and selling them season passes is how you make your money.
That didn't, but I'll go.
Think,
I didn't get a chance to go yet.
I think charging for the expansions is fine if nothing gets vaulted. And the reason I say that is a mutual friend of ours recently asked me how I feel about the vaulting of Forsaken. And I've said this on the show as well before. I can right now go buy a used copy of Halo 3 or Halo Reach or Halo 4 for a few dollars at most, put it into my Xbox 360, and that game, for the most part, with few balancing, because there were a couple patches for each game, will play exactly the way it played when it released, with all the content and any post content that came out. You can't have a game like Destiny and remove an entire chunk of the story that was already confusing to begin with for the average person, and then be like, oh yeah, you can start here now at this point and forget about all that other stuff that happened. But if you were there, you were there, and that's kind of cool. But it just doesn't, because now every time I spend money, it's like, well, this only exists for 3 years. And I get the like hours argument, like, yeah, $40, $80 a year for an insane amount of hours is fine, whatever. But maybe in 10 years, I want to go back and I want to play Forsaken, and I can't do that now. I can't play the original Destiny 2 campaign.
That's a live service game. You also can't go and watch a Fortnite event that already happened. Like there's just, that's the live service model. So my point in all of this is, if expansions are going to get vaulted, you can't sell expansions. You can't sell people content that you're going to take away. That's my philosophy on that. And the reason I think the subscription model is bad is because the barrier of entry is too high. And games these days are going the opposite direction, lowering barriers and making people play, allowing people to play at least a less premium experience unless they pay. So the only solution is expand what is in season passes and just sell season passes. And then you can sell microtransactions on top of that, cosmetics, all the Eververse stuff. Keep doing that. But make a season pass $25 a season.
So you okay? I was about to ask you.
So I was going to say, what's your price?
Make it more expensive. Put the raid behind it. Put the end game content behind it. But then leave the campaign and most of the stuff as like a free to play model that anybody can access without even buying anything. That's what everyone else does. It's like, why aren't they doing that? That's the free to play. That's the games as a service model. So, and yeah, you're right, Teddy. I think the reason is because money, and because Destiny is probably more expensive to make than a lot of other games as a service games. But I don't think that is the player's problem. And I also don't think that the player should be expected to pay for stuff that's going to be vaulted or have to deal with a subscription just to get in your game. Because that's insane. Like, that model is just so old to me. I agree with most of what you're saying. But before we hand it off to Cog, because he hasn't had a chance to get his grievances out, would you be okay if when they announce an expansion and it comes out, if they slapped a date on there and said this gets vaulted in 2025, let's say? They basically already do that. But they sell you a season pass, and they tell you, hey, once the season's over, you're not going to be able to fight Caiatl or anything like that. Like, that's sort of already assumed.
I mean, well, this year they changed it so that every season is active
now. Before,
but previous years wasn't like that. So they at least listened to us a little bit.
But I mean, like, now when the Witch Queen comes out, we know all the stuff's going to be vaulted. So we essentially had a date when we got it, right? Like, we knew it.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically, it's at least it's not 3 months. We are up to a year at this point for the seasonal stuff. But yes, the seasonal live service stuff, as you're talking about, does have an end date. It's more on the expansion, the campaigns, and stuff like that. I think he's asking if Witch Queen comes out and says, hey, this will be vaulted in 2025, which at this point, where there's 3 years left in the franchise, you can assume everything has an end date.
They're not selling me the Witch Queen in the model I'm proposing. They're selling me the season, right? And so I'm saying make the Witch Queen free and make the campaign free, but then put the end game, the premium stuff that the most hardcore players are going to play, put that behind the season pass, expand what's in the season pass, and then tell me what I'm getting. But like, everyone understands what they're getting when they pay for a season pass. They're paying for experience in a window where they can earn content and they can access premium features and that sort of stuff. People don't really even understand what they're getting anymore when they buy an expansion. And when you're selling a subscription, you definitely don't know what you're getting, because basically the subscription is you have access to whatever's in the game right now, and some of that can go away, and there's a barrier of entry, and it would kill their player base. I mean, talk about accessibility. I mean, a subscription is the opposite of accessibility. So I just think that can't be the solution here.
Cog, where are you at?
Yeah, lot to digest. I think Trav nailed it way back, when we were talking about the separation, right? And we were talking about the separation from Activision, and we were talking about, how they're going to operate going forward as this indie studio, right? We knew Tess was the thing in the room, that elephant in the room, it's not going to go away. We all know that, right? I think when things got murky for me was the combination of the introduction of the Vault, right? And then once, I'm going to be honest, to me, this is when I kind of changed on them. Was at me and you had this conversation when what you call transmog was introduced.
Yep.
And we saw such a negative reaction. We all felt that as far as the implementation of it, the way it was handled was probably the worst transmog implementation compared to other games that have it either for free or more customization and more features. And what's up, Smitty Smith? Salute, bro. Thank you. Last word's the best word. Salute. But, at the end of the day, it's like, and the key thing to me, was, everyone was unified. This was not a go, Bungie. This was not a go, right? And the key thing for me was the lack of mention of any true change to that system. And it was kind of like, we're not going to talk about this tomorrow. We're going to move on, right? The best we got was a little synth thread and a synth strand, maybe slight reduction. But as far as people were like, yo, this doesn't even need to be here, fam. Like, why are we monetizing it to this level? Like, what's going on here? And when I knew that didn't go away, and remember I told you, I said, I think they're going to eat the bullet on this one.
Oh, yeah. That's a decision that if you've seen transmog in enough other games, you know what it theoretically can work as. And then when we had the discussion that nearly broke Travis when we're talking about 5 different currencies and he nearly fell out of the screen, that's one of those points where you're like, how convoluted, time gated. There's no way they don't know it takes you 180 whatever hours. Somebody does the math. They know that stuff in advance. We know Bungie's not dumb. Nobody has ever said they're not stupid. They're actually very intelligent, data-driven. There are people doing things typically for a reason, which is why some of these questions always do tend to come up as to what is the proper model. I looked up Final Fantasy XIV. It's one of the rare pieces where a subscription model does actually work. Now, granted, the big factor there is content doesn't get vaulted. You can go back and play, Realm Reborn, which is when it did die and then get rebooted, hence the name actually works pretty well. Yeah.
It's also an MMO, not a live service game like Destiny. It's sort of a different model.
And that's the piece of where you have a different style of game. You have content that doesn't go away, the subscription model. And I think that's kind of, I don't want to take, I'm going to put a pin in this, so Cog, you can finish, but I have something I'll say when I come back.
Yeah.
I'll let you finish.
Yeah, it's just the thing for me is, I'm always going to be, I'm always pro dev. That I've always said that. I know how hard it is that these guys are working. I'm never going to disrespect content and all you got to do. But I'm with Teddy on the fact that, to me, since the separation, there has been a clear distinction as far as the boardroom and corporate moneymakers having the ultimate say on how things are going to proceed moving forward. And I think now we are seeing the results of it. Just like Travis is saying, this is the only game that is allowed to have 6 monetization models, and none get vaulted. The older models still exist, right? That's the problem. And again, to what Teddy is saying, the thing that is most frustrating is I love this game. I want people to play this game. They come to me and they say, Cog, what do I do? Where do I start? Should I get this? Should I get Forsaken? What about the season pass? How do you get that exotic? How come I don't have that? How do you get Witherhoard? Where did you get that from? It's this because, again, all these models, all this convolution, and then you jump in, you don't know where to start. And then you're talking about now vaulting campaign, so you can't even get an idea on what to start and where's the narrative going, right? So, and I gotta give Hogue his props. Like, it's not our problem.
Yeah.
That's not our problem, Bunch. I'm sorry. Like, that is not our problem that you don't have it straightened out. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I want people to play this game that we all love. Every month, it's like, I gotta go research. Okay, so this is gone. Okay, this is here. All right. You know what? Start there, right? And then to your point, E, which is super egregious, let's just call it out. You can't have Forsaken still up in there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Bro, that's a horrible look. That is deception. You know that's going away. There's not even a disclaimer, expires on December 20. That's a bad look. You can't do that to people.
Yeah, to spend $25 on something that's literally mostly gone. Yeah, Dreaming City's still there, and they're going to be the Forsaken pack. But in theory, most of what you buy is gone in, 4 months?
Yeah, and my last point, I give it to you, E. For the record, again, this is not going out at the community managers. This is not going out to the creators, the developers this is the business people, the money-making people who are literally permanent. And now it's getting to the point, E, where it's like, well, who was really holding who back with Activision and... Like, it's getting, people are coming to me like, yo,
like there's the question.
Maybe this was y'all all along.
I mean, there's literally, you should have seen the comments in my video. You know, a controversial video is always entertaining when you check the number of comments versus the number of views. Like, compared to one of my other videos, it's like, hey, here's a guide. And some people are like, hey, thanks, this helped me out, so-and-so. It's like, those are going to be sometimes. But then the ratio of comments to the views on that video, I was like, oh, man, it got just absolutely lit up. So, it's like, we are in a point to where... New Red Chevy. No game will kill Destiny, but Destiny. I was like, it is. I mean, you guys have all said it. It's like they haven't settled on something. There's too many different activities going on. If you think about a subscription, which would smooth things out, and this is kind of what I was trying to get back to, is with everything they've done recently, and some of these, like, you've got the vaulting where things don't go away. You've got dungeons that are separate. You've got the occasional nerfs that happen in live service, like holiday events, and you've got certain things that have happened to enough people, and now the fact that Red War doesn't exist, Forsaken's not going to exist, and like a subscription model is. Well, I was just going to say, like, a subscription model is a terrifying word for them to say. I'm sure it's something they don't want to say because, as Travis said, it's very outdated. Makes people think of WoW and God. Why would the hell would I ever do?
Way back in the day,
like it's an old thing, and Final Fantasy 14 is a rare bird right now because it's like it's doing something very special. But again, it's also has a whole lot of work, and they've managed to support and grow it, not like chop and limit and stuff like that we've got. But I know they've always been afraid of saying anything like that to really. Because there was somebody in the comments, either when I was live on Twitch or one of the videos, they're like, if it's ever a live subscription, I'm out. It's just like that fast as a reaction. And that's what some people, and it's like, so they don't want to do that.
Imagine trying to get your friends into this game. Cog was just talking about getting his friends in. If you tell them, oh yeah, hop back in, you just got to sign up for your subscription. That's like a hard no for 80% of my friends. That's like, no, I'm not going to sign up for a subscription. Even Elder Scrolls Online, super successful.
Yes, I was thinking about that.
I would describe that as an MMO. They have a subscription, but you don't have to pay for it. It's free to play, and then they gate the subscription and gives you a bunch of stuff. So a lot of people are subscribers, but you don't need it. You know what I mean? I just think that model wouldn't work at all.
does the same thing too.
Yeah, last point, Ian, I'll give it right back to you because I know you're flowing. The last point I'm going to say is where it really bothered me this week is you're flowing, you're moving, baby, you're moving out. Where it really bothered me this week is that I always have a problem when there's precedent set and then you renege on that. And what I mean is with the dungeons. We've always had the dungeon and the raid comes part of said expansion or said, season. And to say, yo, you're not getting this unless you get the super deluxe with extra sauce and like $100. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta get the full combo meal. You're not going a la carte.
Yeah, like, bro, I can't get the chicken nuggets separate. Like, why I gotta, like, you really forcing me to do all this? Like, come on. Like, it's a bad look, because if you look at the Witch Queen one, it's like 100 something, right? The one, the big
deluxe
one
is 80, and then the 30th is 100. The 30th is the add-on.
Come on, like, we never did this before. Like, why are we doing this new thing? Then you already got the heat from removing. It's like each month is a new evil monetization edition. It's like it
also just makes it so confusing. Like, what does the season pass include now? Like, is it literally just the XP bar? Are you getting the activity as well? Like, the fact that they're selling the dungeon separately just adds another layer of confusion. That's why I think they just need to simplify it. Keep Eververse and expand what the season pass includes, right? Because then it makes sense. Then it's like, okay, well, obviously Witch Queen doesn't come with the other dungeons or the other raid, because those happen in different seasons. So you're buying the Witch Queen season, and then you can buy the next season if you want that dungeon. But the fact that they're not doing that they're just like, season pass is one thing, microtransactions are another thing, expansions are one thing, and then there's also these activities. Oh, and if you want a transmog, also a separate thing that you pay for. That's just too confusing. And then people are like, why don't they add a subscription? Or like, are you kidding me? You're like giving them more ideas? You think they're going to take away some of the ones they've already done? They're not.
I mean, that's the only way they ever could, is you would have to you would really have to consolidate everything to ever consider a subscription. But as you said right now, that would be a big overhaul with so many different pieces they have. They'd be like, all right, starting in 2020, the only time they could ever do that is like Destiny, whatever is after the Light Dark Saga. If like we are going to a different model, you know, it's all whatever you want to do, like that would be the time when they've got a new engine. And this comes back to even today's issue, which we'll talk about, is what we joke about every so often, is if you can't support the game that you built in the first place with the engine that it's currently on, that leads to issues of what are the next 3 years going to be like? And that makes you wonder, it's like, how long can you limp this engine to? And this is where, again, where if Bungie's ever listened to this, it's like, we love you, but you're going to hate me right now.
Yeah.
You're going to limp an old engine for 3 more years to pay for 2 other games that they're working on, the studio, employees, which again, please pay your employees, take care of them. I hear Bungie has some of the best working conditions, benefits, straight up. Like, it has got to be one of the best places to work as a developer from what I hear. Ups and downs, but I was like, they are like, if you get a job there, you're probably very happy to work there. But again, you turn around and say, you're like, okay, so I've got this old thing that we're trying to limp along that you want us to talk about and, you know, discuss and play and make content on and all this other thing. But it's like, then we have something where we put out a hot fix and then you break something else. And it's like, we joked about the spaghetti code, and it's like, you know, that's not a great term to use. But at this point, you are looking at an occasional house of cards where it's like you're going to make one of those little towers fall if you sneeze on it wrong, because it is in a fragile state. And we have to look 3 years out in this same thing to try and get as long as we can out of this, when finally it's like, okay, this thing is finally done. We have to retire this engine and stuff. We finally spent the last 3 years to build the next gen version of it, which is fine. But it's like, what do you look at until then? And it's like, you can't keep what's in Forsaken. Okay, then when does Shadowkeep go next? Well, do you get rid of Shadowkeep because that's the moon? You took the time to revamp the moon and put it into your game with like new lighting and revamp stuff like that. Do you take that away? We do keep the Dreaming City, but then Forsaken's gone. And then you're playing this like Tetris little like cup game where you're trying to find the thing that's going to be moved around and actually see what actually makes it. Go ahead.
Real quick, I'll give it right back.
No, you're good.
You're so right. And think about this in turn. Forget about us, right, as a player. Think about, you're the dev, like Hulk said, you make content for a season, right? And then your hard work, everything you investment from a development standpoint is now thrown away.
Shattered Realm is my best example this season right now. The amount of work put into the Shattered Realm this season, as much of an amazing piece of content that is gone when Witch Queen comes out. And that hurts. Also probably hurts even as much whoever made that. Because people are going to be like, oh, I'm coming into Witch Queen. This is going to be a lot of fun. The dev's like, well, I made this really cool Metroidvania in here, even on a resume that can be like, I hope you can see this YouTube video of my resume because you can't go look at it in game right now. It's like, as you said, that's got to hurt for Bungie. It's like, it is a great place to work. But yeah, the limited nature of some of the content that's got to be rough on them too.
They're not throwing it away, okay? They're putting it in the vault. They will sell it to you again in 10 years in an HD version. All right?
HD version.
It's going to be quad HD now, or QHD.
Quad HD. And
Beta
3D.
Max.
It'll be a VR version of the game. Yeah.
I'm done with you.
They're going to take it out of the vault. You just wait.
You're going to stream it into your brain.
I actually don't have a problem with them, like the getting rid of it part, because like that's just part of the industry now with live service games. I think you make content knowing like, okay, this is a special experience that they get to see during
but it's
season,
different from like that's different from like a Fortnite concert versus Shattered Throne. Like that is not even remotely the same, and the amount of effort it takes to make.
Yeah,
like that's not.
These are
close.
some illustrious skyboxes.
Correct, but there's lots of other games that are like that.
But not to the level though.
Monster Hunter, Warframe. I mean, I could go on and on. This is like
Warframe's
a thing
free.
Now. Like
Monster Hunter,
Sea of Thieves. Perfect
But
example.
would you compare like a Leviathan?
Sea of Thieves has unique content and it goes away.
I understand.
Yeah.
I just feel that
is it on the same scale as Destiny?
I don't feel it's on the same scale as Destiny. I feel Destiny's the level of complexity with just encounters and skyboxes and gunplay is superior to anything out of those other games. To me, those games are just simple in comparison.
I'm talking about the concept. Like Warframe is very
you're talking about the concept.
Yeah, it's like conceptually, but we're just talking about the scale of the concept.
That's
what I'm
like.
Scale. Yeah,
the
Fortnite
scale
concert
is not
just
even.
Like, yeah, versus Shattered Realm.
I just think.
Yeah.
I just think like this is, for whatever reason, for better or for worse, this is the game that Destiny is. And I think the problem is Bungie made Destiny not knowing what type of game it was going to be, and they've sort of transformed it over the year to be this thing. Now it's just, without a doubt, it's a game as a service game. If you look at their user terms of agreement, it says we are a live game. All of our content is considered live. And it can come and go as they want. So if it's a live game, their model has to match. And in a live game, you shouldn't be selling content that you're going to take away. You shouldn't probably have a subscription service if you're also selling season passes. Just doesn't really make sense. And microtransactions don't really have any business being in a AAA game where you pay for a full expansion. So like all of the stuff they're doing together doesn't make sense. They just have to pick a direction. And personally, I don't really care where it goes. I think subscription would be a mistake. I think going back to the old way of doing it and just selling expansions would be a mistake. I think they should pursue the seasonal model. But if they're going to do that, then they need to simplify it. They need to get rid of old stuff. And I think again, I don't think it's a malicious thing. I don't think Bungie or the business people are looking at this like, oh, I've come up with a brand new way we can rip off players. I think they honestly just have a really hard time understanding the game that they're selling and figuring out where the sweet spot is for monetization. So I don't think it's that simple.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, it's like, so the hard part is, if you ask, okay, so you want to do a $25 subscription model for, not subscription, $25 season pass. Are we getting the stories that we're getting in the seasons now as like, that's your main story? When do you get your Witch Queen, Forsaken? When do you get your bigger moments then that they're trying to occasionally still have their story arcs and bigger villains if they're getting into, and again, this is a speculation of like the story stuff that they're doing now actually getting even better in Witch Queen, and hopefully it does. But again, that's where their expansions do come into play for a world state, is like, where do you put a destination in? Like, if I bought the season pass for season 16, I get a whole new destination. But if I get the season pass for season 18, I just get some seasonal content, but I have to go, like, how, that's the hard part. Again, that's where that I don't know.
That stuff is all free. That stuff's all free. The big expansions are the reason people come and play the game. That's how it works in other live service games. Like, the big expansion is free. All the players come to play that, and then they sell you other stuff on top of that. The smaller stories and seasons, the additional, progress bars that you can fill up to unlock special weapons and season passes, the microtransactions, all that stuff. But they need a base game to draw players to, and that base game should be free. Witch Queen's free. Every year they drop an annual release. Nightfall, it's free. But all the stuff on top of that, all the extra content, that's why they sell you the season pass. That's how they get you, if you want to put it that way. But I just think, like, they still need a base game. Like, that's not going to change. They can't just never release a major expansion again and expect their players to like keep paying them or continue to play.
I was like,
you know
people
what I mean?
are freaking out about a dungeon that might cost $10. A season pass for $25 could also be a hard pill for some people to swallow.
Sure.
I was like,
Sure, but if you make the main content, the meat of every season free, and then the season pass on top of it is just, you know what I mean? Like, if they're going the live service model, there needs to be a free version of the game where you get some of the stuff,
Right.
and then a premium version of the game where you get the other stuff. So Witch Queen comes out, it's a free game, but the dungeon that's associated with it, the raid, the end game content is locked behind season pass. That's what I would expect of a live service game. That's what I would expect it to be.
They're in a tough spot. They're just in a tough spot. They have so many different models, so many different things tied to so many different systems. So light progression, then the constant, okay, now we're removing this. How is this going to affect a new player when he comes in? What's his experience? You know, the Cosmodrome thing, which I don't know what their metrics are as usage and who's really going there when the new player experience is coming on, the new light kind of thing. Look, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's easy, right? I'm not going to sit there and but like y'all said, like they've got to come up with something. They've got to come up with something because currently as it exists, I mean, this getting to the point now is just like every time we see a new model or some new implementation and they're going to get it. They're going to get it. And after a while, there's only so much as great as this game is. And we know when that trailer dropped, and we know when that Witch Queen trailer drop, all of us here going to bend the knee and we buying it, and it don't matter what's going on. We know that. However, there comes a point, though, you keep playing around with this loyalty, and I'm going to give it to you, Teddy. You keep messing with that loyalty that you've built and accrued, and I think they have been lucky because they've been the last live service game standing, and they've endured when everyone thought they were going to die. They've built up this cred of this undying thing, but you keep playing with player satisfaction and trust, and if you lose it, it's over. So I just want to give it to Teddy because I know he wanted to say some things and then keep it pushing, but that's what I'm at.
So I have two things. When they talked about content vaulting initially, they gave an example of how a Warmind mission was bugged or something, and it was affecting like less than 1% of the whole player base. And they used that paragraph as justification for like why they had to remove certain things, because them editing something or fixing something else somewhere unrelated to that would affect that mission negatively, and then they had to spend more resources to do that. Well, here's my counterpoint. Just hire more people. You're already doing it. You're already curating the best people in the industry. I see their hiring process. I constantly see them. I did various people from various disciplines posting about come work with us. They've been staffing up for years now. They're opening a new studio. Get a dedicated team. Fix that bloating problem that they discussed. And then if you encounter an issue like that, where it affects such a minuscule amount of players, then you from a business perspective should go, okay, it's only affecting a certain amount of business, or it's only affecting a certain amount of players. It's a small amount. We can fix this, but the timeline will be a little bit longer than our usual fixes. And then communicate that so that the few players that are affected by this can go, okay, this mission's busted for me. I'm going to put Destiny down for a little bit and ignore it. Halo's been doing this for years with Master Chief Collection and even Halo 5, and they've been doing it with Infinite, and that game's not even out yet.
Yeah.
Battlefront 2 did this excellently after all the backlash, and that game totally went No Man's Sky. This is another example of that.
Yeah.
These companies actually began having real conversations with their community versus the Bungie conversation, which is very reactive. It's always been reactive. It's never a proactive discussion with them. And then my final point, the New Light experience, they spent a considerable amount of resources on New Light every year, and they tout it. I was at E3, working E3 when they initially announced New Light, and we did all the exclusive interviews and all that stuff. And on paper, New Light is genius, and that was also when they announced free to play. But at a certain point, if you're spending all these resources to make the game initially accessible for players, shouldn't you just make the game generally accessible so that it's not this like ultra confusing experience? Even for us, it's confusing sometimes. Like, how many times have one of us had to explain to each other a random thing in the game that's convoluted? And we play the game a lot.
Yes.
And so, Joe Schmo, who just picked up the game because it was free to play on Xbox and it was on the homepage for the weekend, they're not going to know that.
No idea.
And they're not going to YouTube. Most people aren't on YouTube, Reddit, Twitter.
Yeah.
They're not checking the Bungie blog or the Bungie forums. It's just not them. And so the New Light experience, if you're going to keep the free to play model, the New Light experience needs to be what Travis is saying. It has to be an actual game, like an actual experience, and then you pay for the extra, the end game stuff, or the beefier season pass. Like I'm willing to pay $20 for season pass if that means I get a raid and a dungeon every season, one or the other. It doesn't have to be both. And then there's an actual content in me. But my counterpoint to that is, let me play all of it at once.
That's what I was about to ask you.
Don't
with your
don't do this like drip feed, BS where I am doing one triumph a week because you've limited me to this single activity.
Kind of how seasons work on games as a service game, though.
But the thing about Fortnite and like Apex is it's a multiplayer experience, whereas Destiny is primarily a single player experience or a cooperative experience, I should say. So like the stuff that they're releasing in seasons for Apex or Fortnite, it's usually cosmetics or an event at the end of the season, or like they're building up to an event. So you don't necessarily have to be there for the whole thing. But Destiny, I want to experience all of it because it's story stuff. There's world building, there's dialogue, there's guns, there's a quest, there's actual things that aren't temporary. Like there's things that I can do that are lasting, unlike those other games. And so I'm
trying to think of games that have like the same sort of story content.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I think.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot.
Elder Scrolls Online has it, actually. I mean,
but nothing goes away in that game. That's as far as I know.
There's like events. Like any game with in-game events has stuff that goes away.
Okay, but
some of it is story.
An event, I think, is different versus like a seasonal story drop,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Like Festival of the Lost is an event, but the Mara Sov story is a story. That's a campaign, effectively.
Yeah.
The way I see
It's like
it.
it's kind of I think they view it as a live event because
They
that's
do.
how they treat it. But
yes, but
Yeah,
that's how
EU,
I see it. So, but that's all I got. Like it's confusing.
Yeah,
No,
I was
I mean-
going to give it to you, and I was going to ask you, E, before I give it to you. It's just that I know we're trying to come now. I was going to say for solutions, like what? Yeah, you're funny. What I was saying is like, is there a scenario that can exist where the Destiny content vaulted campaigns, right, can be accessed for these new or is it just too confusing with all the systems, the multiplayer, the exotics and stuff tied to this and that? Like, do you even think there is a proper solution to that new light situation that Teddy's talking about also?
I mean, part of it we discussed last time with regards to the timeline. The fact that they introduced the timeline would be a way to at least get some people up to speed. Now, do they get to experience what we got to experience, go through the story, the campaign missions? You take a lot of stuff away if you just say, hey, here's these cinematics that kind of explain what went through. Click here. This was the Forsaken story. You can see like kind of a summation or a Cliff Notes like inkblot storyboard thing that we've talked about before. And that's a way to do it, but it does still take away from being in the moment of like going through, hearing the voice dialogue that happens during the mission, seeing the cutscene that happens in the right place. And as what Teddy's saying about the story is why it's so different for Destiny is the seasons are more than just these like Festival of the Lost. Festival of the Lost is like, that is what an event is for most live service games.
Yeah.
It's some cosmetics. It's going to be your put on the pretty show that goes along with a theme. I mean, you like Overwatch. It's, it's a free game and it's got, your Olympics events and you got skins and stuff. You don't have Overwatch generally. They do their like occasional one-off like YouTube videos for a character, but you don't have it telling like this concurrent story that goes through seasons. While sometimes our seasons are detached, they hopefully are building to something. But the idea is you're going through and experiencing a story, and it's not meant to be temporary. But unfortunately, now the way the vaulting is working, it's making it very temporary, which makes the New Light experience really rough because you can't be in the like one of the moments from the Red War. No one's ever going to get to experience again the slow walking dramatic music mission.
Oh, yeah.
When you jump into Destiny, you're like, oh, cool, I got this thing. Dude just kicked me off a ship. I lost my light and I'm in a bad place right now. And no one's going to get to experience how Red War didn't actually suck. It was Gaul was one thing, but I was like,
it's a good campaign.
That was actually, and there was a lot of missions to it. It's gone.
I actually like that campaign. Yeah, I really like that campaign.
I was like, so, I mean, we've beaten this thing to death, so we're going to move on here in a second. But it is to a point where it's like, I mean, Travis is saying it's like, subscription doesn't make sense. And right now, even if it was something they considered, they haven't built enough like faith within the community, and they don't have a new player experience that makes sense for that even to be an option. Teddy's over here wondering, it's like, why do we have all these disconnected pieces? I was like, there's so much going on. It's like, this is why, to bring it all back, is why we want a Destiny 3, because it's so broken right now. Like, we can't even, between the four of us, I don't know if there's a good solution that any of us specifically have to say, you could do the seasonal model, it's $25. Okay, well then you have like, is a raid and a couple dungeons in the seasonal activity worth $25 now? Does that come with some skins? This is free over here. How does the development, like, there's so many moving pieces to their current models. You guys said, I don't know where it's going to land. I really don't, but I don't want to keep kind of cycling around the same train. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we go on to the next piece of this?
Trav?
I think for your guys' conversation about, to all of your guys' point about preservation of content, which I think every Destiny player wonders about, I just think there needs to be some separate app. Like if they're not gonna keep stuff in the
I'm with you.
Service
That's
game,
what I was thinking.
I think the vault could be a service. That could be a subscription.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like have like a separate, like private server where some of the old activities are still alive, or that sort of thing. Like that makes sense to me. But I just think that some people in the Destiny community are afraid to have Destiny evolve as a game. They want it to be what it has always been, which is like a AAA blockbuster game that kind of does some stuff that's MMO like, but it never really goes there. I think Bungie is being brave and saying, all right, we're going to embrace it. We're going to go way more toward the live service. We're going to push forward and make it an evolving world. And I think that that's good. They should be lauded for that. But they have to do some stuff to make the model make sense to the players, because right now it feels super scummy. And it feels like they don't know what they're doing. Like they don't know what model they should pick. And I just think they just need to get with the times. They need to full commit. If they're full committed to being a live service game, change your model to represent it. Get rid of the old blockbuster model of selling us big expansions, especially if you're going to be taking it away. It makes no sense.
Shout out to Save a Tech real quick. He said he would pay good money to be a fly on the wall in a Bungie boardroom. And I was like, that's the biggest thing, because we go back to is like, what is the business decision? And again, there's probably a whiteboard full of like strings connecting all these pieces, and here's these models, these work with these. Do we do this? Cross this out over here. They got the Ikora board. They got the Ikora Sabathun board. That Ikora whiteboard is for real. They just took that out of their like conference room.
What does it mean?
Exactly.
$20 a month. What did she say?
Yeah. So it's just like, it would be like, the Bungie boardroom meetings, the high up executive, like those meetings. And again, you've got Mark and you've got Luke now above thinking about, are we doing movies or TV shows or other things outside of just Destiny the game? There's so much going on in that studio right now. I honestly can't even imagine. But yeah, it's like I'm with Travis. It's like at this point it needs some resolution, but I'm also at a wondering point of like, have they built so many? Is it so convoluted at this point they don't even know how to smooth it out?
Yeah. Because what could be restrictions in the way, because to what Travis was saying is what I was thinking. And I shout out to my boy Caiatl. He actually said the same thing. He was like, if it was technically possible, because again, I don't want to be disrespectful, I don't know the back end, but if it was technically possible to have an offline downloader of Forsaken, shout out to the sponsor, Forsaken and all the old campaigns, so that if you wanted to do those, you could get it rocking, right? You know what I'm saying? And you could catch up. And then the current game is what Travis and me were talking about, which we like, is this ever evolving, ever changing, what's going to happen. But if you want, you know what I'm saying? Again, I don't know if it's technically possible, because that would satiate both issues, right? The person who comes back be like, wait a minute, okay, if I really want to go back, but what if I want to learn how the crow became the crow? What if I want to learn what Gaul was and what that meant to the universe before? Hey, download the DCV offloader, you know what I'm saying? Offline, get that. Just do, maybe it doesn't have matchmaking. Private server. Maybe it doesn't have matchmaking. Maybe it doesn't have the rate or whatever, but you still got the core experience that doesn't go away. Whereas the new game, you got your seasonal model, you get the stuff is still going on, and then they can do their little vault and push away. But I'm with you, E. If there was any way to say, let's put it this way, if Destiny 3 Tiger engine could satiate those needs, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Blow up the vault again.
Yeah.
Let them come blow it up the tower again or whatever. Do what you got to do if they could. I don't know how it is on the back end.
I will say the I'm going to say this last thing. The one-time fee they could hit with me with right now, and I'd pay the $20 in a heartbeat. Double my vault space for $20 and I'm done. I would do that so fast. You would make so much money off of me. Done. $20. Don't care.
I've suggested this multiple times. A separate app on my phone or website where I move items that I want to keep but not necessarily want to use constantly into that vault, and I would pay money for that, like a cloud service. Essentially.
Like Pokemon does for your Pokemon.
Right.
Yeah,
A vault bank. Give me that.
Yeah.
Vault bank.
Pokemon has a separate subscription service you can pay for to move all your Pokemon there and store them.
Really?
And people pay like $5 a month for just a place to move
there we
your
go.
Pokemon to.
We solved it, Bungie. It's easy. DCV Vault offloader for everything. We
It was also their solution to linking every game. So that's how you transfer Pokemon from like a certain generation and up. Because I think anything below 6th gen, there's like a funky path you have to take. But 6th gen and up can use the bank. So you just use the bank to go from any game back and forth, as long as it's compatible, obviously.
Bring your Pokemon with you. I honestly thought about subscribing to that because like Pokemon's my jam sometimes. Like, when it's hot. I'm not one of those like ride or die people. But,
yeah, that's just Fast and Furious and Star Wars.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Good talk, boys.
And Destiny. Don't forget.
Of course. But at this point, I would definitely say we want them to transparency with regards to stuff like Forsaken and the dungeons. So transparency needs to be much more clear just across the board. Some way to help new players have a way to access historic content, get old experiences so they can kind of have the full experience that some of us have. And if it is like a separate thing, an old, I don't know. And then, of course, give me that $10 vault charge. I'm down. That's all I got to say.
I'm with you, bro.
But now we're kind of into the point of the current week. And before we go too far into the activities of the week, I wanted to get to why my Twitter's still exploding as we're in the middle of this podcast. And hotfix dropped at about noon. They'll do their thing. Got a few fixes in there, nothing major. And then shout out to Newrad in my Discord. He mentioned it's like, hey, I think public events are dropping less pages. He checked a couple. I went through. I did 2 heroics and I did 1 normal, and they were dropping 1 page. Well, after the nerfs that we literally got live in the middle of the podcast last week, this one was pretty close again with changes going on. And that was the fastest way to get them. About 210 candy, 2 to 3 pages per public event. I've done public events in 90 seconds or so, and some are about 4 minutes, but it's the best one. And now, granted, I threw that tweet up, and oh man, the replies, the retweets, because you get tagged and all that. And I was like, I hadn't muted the conversation just for entertainment value. I should have, but it was entertaining to watch. DMG did actually reply and said, hey, they're looking into this, did figure out, shout out to DMG, the fact that it was a bug.
I knew they listened to E.
Something,
I knew E
my
was
God.
plugged in. I knew he was in the
Cog
board
over here.
What is on these pages that is so damn valuable that we can't get them this fast?
Well, part of the issue with regard
to the pages, of the headless ones.
So public events having decreased candy and spectral pages. Errant change was deployed alongside the fix for the candy spectral pages from Nightfalls earlier today. And the issue was last week they nerfed Lake of Shadows because some people could glitch it, or you can honestly run it pretty fast as it is anyway, because Lake of Shadows is fast. They said they're working on, a change to revert the changes to, bless you, the public events. So the public events was not supposed to happen. But still last week they nerfed Expunge, which theoretically I could run that normally without going up and over a wall where things don't spawn. I ran it normally in 3.5 minutes by myself, completely solo. I could run that thing in 3.5 minutes. And then the Wrathborn hunts, those were being farmed in 1 to 2 minutes. Fallout had a video of if you have a group, it could go even faster. And then you still had public events in there. And then the Lake of Shadows, it's always been an insanely fast strike. And, they're worried about people farming it for Grandmasters and all those things. At some point, that strike's just going to get stealth deleted from the game. I think same with Telesto. Yeah. So you already had the nerfs last week, and then this one happened, which, sent Twitter into just absolute trash fire, which is fine. And that was a bug. That's okay. But again, this actually takes me back to what we were talking about before, is they try and do one change to a Nightfall, which they shouldn't have nerfed in the first place, and we talked about that. But then they turn around and then they break something else, a public event, because they tried to do a Nightfall change. This goes back to what shaky House of Cards kind of question mark thing. Again, like a Nightfall change breaks public events dropping spectral pages, like these things in the fact that actually affected one versus the other. Again, their code is, there's a lot going on in their game, and we know that it's probably on the edge of breaking half the time anyway. But it is just weird to see this. Now, the fact that it's a bug is fine. Stuff happens. Okay. But I just kind of wanted to get, especially Teddy as well, with regards to, I'm sure you were done with this in the first day. You probably found the efficient one and you were done. But just your thoughts, because you weren't here last week, on the fact that they nerfed the fastest things, and if this would have been real before actually the patch, is kind of where you're sitting with this event as is. No matter if you got the pages, the 194 pages you have to earn, you still have to do like 16 to 18 Haunted Sector playlist runs, no matter what. So you have that to do anyway, much less those. So, Teddy, what do you got?
So I've been really busy the last couple of weeks, and when they announced all this stuff, or when it came out on Tuesday, I had just come back from a trip, and so I was kind of looking at it and kind of acclimating myself to it. I was like, all right, I'm going to get this done over the course of the event. I'm just going to play like really casually, because the last like month and a half, I've only logged in on Tuesday to just do whatever like 1 or 2 triumphs I can do, because they're all time gated, and then I don't play, and I'll do like some challenges for XP, and that's it. Like I've been taking a really nice break from Destiny.
Yep.
So it was, I think on Wednesday night, I had like a 4-hour window where I said, all right, I've got some time. Let me do the Wrathborn farm. And as I'm doing it, I'm like, this is absolutely going to get like patched.
Isn't it sad we know when they're going to do it?
Because they don't like it when you earn any currency too quickly. And then
They don't like it.
the following day, they reduced it. And thankfully I had already gotten like most of the pages. But it's just silly. I've said this a million times. If I want to play Destiny hyper efficiently, I should not be penalized because little Timmy is upset that I did it faster than he could because I had more time to do it. That's really what it boils down to, is they're always afraid of this public perception that, oh, streamer X he did the thing too quickly, and then the average player's like, oh, I don't want to do it now because I've already seen it. That's always what it boils down to.
Facts.
All the time.
I agree.
Because they want people to play the event, they want people to spend money, and it's a 4-week event or 3-week event, whatever it is. So I'm thankful that I got most of it done. Otherwise, I'd probably be pulling my hair out right now. I got all the triumphs done. I hate that they added score for event triumphs. It's really stupid. Please make them 0 again so I don't have to do some of them. However, I will point out to their credit, they've made event triumphs less grindy, so I'm happy about that. They're much more streamlined. But the event itself, like the lost sectors were cool the first couple times, but I had to do 20 of them for a triumph, and you hear the same dialogue after the 5th one, and it's kind of whatever. Also, Ebontis and I talked about this privately. You can only do 10 headless ones in the first 5 minutes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So
yeah, when he told me that. Yeah, when he told me that, I was like, nope, not doing it.
Me being like hyper efficient, I get
What's
my 10.
the most
like
time
a minute
that
and a
you've
half
had
on the
wait?
timer.
Yeah, I was gonna say 90 seconds. I saw about minute 15 the other day.
90 seconds to a minute 45, and then you're just sitting there, like nothing's spawning, literally nothing's happening. You just have to wait, and then the boss will spawn when the timer. And I'm like, why doesn't it just auto end and then the boss spawns?
Yeah, if you want it to stop at 10,
keep killing them.
or just
one or the other. Don't make it like force the timer to run out. But they did both wrong. Like both sides of that are wrong.
So when I was grinding for the pages, what I learned was after getting a perfect run where I didn't die, because if you die, I think you lose like one of your stacks. Or something like that. Something makes you lose a stack of pages. I had a perfect run where I didn't die. It actually caps you out at 15 pages, no matter how many headless ones you kill.
Wow.
So if you kill them during the boss fight, if you just ignore the boss and kill the maximum amount of headless ones that you can kill, it'll cap you at 15. Which to me is like, why? And then the page nerf on top of that, and it's like, well, who cares? The gun is not even that good.
That's what I'm saying.
Like it's okay. At best, it's okay. And then you're giving me 2 reissued weapons from the last 2 years of this event.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would have taken the Infinite Forest again at this point. Like, just give me that again. Like that. At least that was like, okay if you were doing something else. But this is just, it's badly designed event. Very Eververse focused. Festival of the Costs. We've said it over the years. You know,
I remember that.
Yeah. Like
Did any of you guys buy the Dino armor?
I bought it for
I
Bright
did not.
Dust.
Yeah, with Bright Dust.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I ain't spending money on an event.
I'm just
not
gonna
giving
jump
them
in
metrics.
because my information, my contribution to this topic is gonna be very short. I'm with Teddy. I made a conscious decision to say I'm not doing this. I'm not. After I didn't start on the Tuesday it debuted. And I'm like, all right, my plan was just scheduling and thing, life was in the way. So I said, Thursday, I'm going to go in and do all this stuff, right? Then he tells me about the what you call it, that you can't do the special thing. Yo, they nerfed this. Yo, if you do the headless, now you got to wait. And it's like, oh, now it's a candy nerf. Then I always look at the reward. Why am I going to be in here?
Masks.
Yeah, it's like I've never liked Festival, to be honest. And then that was already just, so I'm like, all right, if they got a good, I'm looking at the archetype, I'm like, it's okay. I looked at the roles, it's Lincoln Green. I'm like, this is literally Lincoln Green, and you finessing me for Lincoln Green. Like, I'm not doing it for Lincoln Green. I'm sorry. I love you, Devrin, but I'm not doing it.
They added new perks on it that weren't available when Lincoln Green was around. And the combinations are really bad as well. And there's like only one that
works. Why are you saying it like a Jewish grandmother? They added new perks on it too. You can play with the... You never call anymore, Teddy.
Exactly, bro. I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the homework. I'm not doing the chores this week, Grandma. No. It's not.
All right. I did it for the both of us.
Thank you. So I'm just like, I'm out. Like, I remember Forte had a conversation. It was one event, I forgot. I think it was Dawning one year. He was like, Cog, I'm not doing that. And this was the one I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. And on top of it is that I've already done most of the stuff I need. I got my Vags. I got most of the God roll weapons. I farmed my Umbrals with the triple focusing. I did that. The other thing,
those suck, by the way. Can I call that out real fast?
Yeah, those really,
The tier 3 Umbrals, I've got more in the like 50s, mid 50s, below 60 for every one of them, and I'm like, you can even do the ghost, like, give you at least 10 intellect, and then I pick a recovery, and I literally get like 11 intellect, 22 recovery, and I swear everything else is like 2-6, 2-2-4, and I'm like, what the? This is not supposed to be this crap. It's 600 of this currency that I farm now, and it's just like, you already have the world of RNG stats. Yeah. You already have multiple slots that it can go in. And then you're going to tell me it's like trash in the first. No.
Yeah, not doing it. And like I said, like, between that, obviously, Trials is honestly why I log in. If DJ and the crew hit me, Sinister and the crew.
Iron Banner comes in, you're like, oh, man.
Yeah, and I'm not doing Grandmasters. I got Shadow Pride. I got what I got. Like, I'm good. Like, and you know what it was? The incentive dropped for me substantially once the story was on this halt. Yep. When we got the mid-season Walking Dead fiasco, come back, the season conclusion, mid-season conclusion.
Yeah, come see the finale in 2 months.
All right, I'll see y'all when Savathun's back. Cog will tune in when Savathun returns.
It's not on hold, Cog, okay? It's in stasis. You got the Aramis effect, okay?
Yes.
It's in the Destiny content vault for a couple months.
Yeah.
And I get it.
It's marinating.
I get it. Yeah. It's long season. I get it. So what Cog? Yeah, okay. It's thawing. It's literally thawing. So what Cog said is, got these other games. I done booted up a Disco Elysium. I'm hitting the backlog.
So good.
Oh my God, that game's amazing. Oh my God,
I've heard that game's amazing. I need to do it.
I never played. Bro, I'm doing...
Are you playing the Thinker?
I'm doing Intelligence 4 and the other one, the intellectual stuff 4 and 4. Strength about 3.
Psychology.
Motoric's low. Yeah. But man, that game is the greatest.
Custom build. You did a custom.
Yeah, I did a custom. That game's the greatest the greatest voice acted game for every single NPC with this new Final Cut edition. Oh, I'm having a ball.
You know what? When I reviewed it, it didn't have voice acting.
Oh, bro,
because the original version didn't. So I've been
to it now.
No, I'm playing it on Xbox now.
Yeah, me too.
It's good and it's bad. It's good because the voice acting is quite charming, but also like I had voices in my head
of what it was going to be.
Really fit,
I got you.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But
I advise.
Great game.
Yeah,
Great
I advise
game.
anyone.
Banger.
Yeah, banger. So just that's how I'm doing it. That's how I'm looking at this. Take care of what I got to take to my game wise. I'll help the clan if they need something. Shout out, like I said, DJ sending the crew. They're like, yo, we're going to run. I think the only thing I haven't done is they trying to get me 1K voices because 1K is so good with Particle Deconstructed this season, and I don't have 1K. So we be doing that. But other than that, I'm chilling, bro. I'm not doing that stuff, man. I'm just not. But
Travis,
where you at, man?
I was going to say Travis first because I got a nice little segue I'm going to cheat my way into.
Mm-hmm.
Travis?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Are you done with like festival? Did you do it all? Just where are you at with festival before I go to my next topic?
Destiny. What do you want from me?
I need you to vent for a couple minutes. I got to step. No, I'm just kidding.
That was hilarious.
What do you want from me?
What do you want from me?
No, that was actually not a question for you, E. I was speaking directly to Bungie.
Oh, okay, good.
No, sorry, I was responding to a comment. I forgot what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Festival of the Lost. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get all the pages. I'm gonna do the candy to get all the masks, just so that I can, for me, because I play Destiny, so I can talk on the show and cover it for IGN and all that stuff. Like, I feel like I have an obligation to put myself through the pain, just so that I can feel like I understand what's going on. And if you take a break from Festival of the Lost and you don't feel all that pain, you don't really understand the turmoil and the suffering that they're carrying when they go and do the Destiny 30th anniversary. And I feel like it's important. So I'm going to do it, but I've basically done no grinding because I've been working on the IGN reviews recently. I'm like, I've gotten maybe like 70 pages, 80 pages. So nothing, but I've got a lot more to go and I got a lot more candy to grind. And unfortunately, they nerfed the public events, which is how I was doing the grind. I was grinding public events just because it's kind of something I can do with my brain off, listen to stand-up comedy or watch a show or whatever while I'm doing that. And now I'm not going to be doing that for one page, so we'll see if they fix that.
Do your strike playlist and level up your Vanguard rank. So you can get your ascendancy ornament.
Never going to do that. I'm not going to play strikes. I would rather die.
Just go play Crucible.
I guess I'll play Crucible. I really don't know what my plan is now. I'll see if they fix it. One thing that really bothered me with this is that they are patching so quickly all of these sources that you could easily grind.
Preach.
But then they're not fixing all of the negative feedback, like the artificial cap on only killing 10 headless ones and then having to wait around. Like, those are clear issues with the event that they probably should have fixed in the first round, and those ones are getting left in, even though there has been a lot of complaining about that stuff publicly on Reddit and Twitter. And I'm just like, it feels really weird when they fix like the exploits, but then they don't patch the big problems.
But to Travis's
I can still
point,
be mad about it. You know what I mean?
This is another. I'm sorry to cut you, Teddy. I'm with Trav there because that's another reason. When I was even thinking about, I was like, you know what? I need to at least see the event go in there. And it's like they're so quick with the nerfs. I'm like, it feels more egregious, this event. Like the candy, the thing, the pages. And I'm just like, why are they this aggressive? Is it that much of a drought that we cannot? Okay,
I don't think it's worse right now.
None of you guys played Queen's Wrath in Destiny 1 2014.
I played that. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
48 hours in, on hour 49, they were like, you're getting Ascendant Shards and Energies too fast. We're nerfing this event. That was 2 days into that. And VOG, I think VOG had not even been released at that point yet. Or maybe it was released. I don't remember.
I don't think it had.
It hadn't been released yet.
There was literally nothing you could use them for except for guns. But nobody had the materials to that anyway, because you weren't running around the Cosmodrome or Venus for 10 hours to get the mats you need.
Spin metal loops.
They've been doing this from the beginning. When any type of there's a currency that's too quick or whatever, they're just like, nope. And then anything that actually affects the player negatively, they're like, we'll fix it in the quarterly patch.
Mm-hmm.
They're always done this, always from the beginning. Bad. It's just how they are.
Yeah, it's like every time I had a little incentive to try, and then when I saw E's tweet, I was like, I'm good.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm good.
I hear
Not
you,
doing it.
man. I hear you. I would not recommend it. Like I'm the worst advocate for Destiny. Like every other podcast I'm on that's not about Destiny, whenever they ask me like, what should I do if I want to get into Destiny? I'm like, don't do it. I love that game. It brings me a lot of joy, but if you aren't playing it right now, like just don't play it. Like that's my
But that's what
advice
I tell
to you.
people when they ask me. I'm like, don't play it. Just don't.
Yeah.
And that's the
Don't
hard part
become me.
right now is like they do these types of things. They nerf these few moments. And then you also see like, what is the new player experience like? How do you recommend this to somebody who's the people who already like, you know, Stockholm syndrome, we're locked in. Like they've got us. But I was like, if they want to grow their player base, they're not doing the things that are going to help that long term.
The problem is they're enabled right now. And I've said this before. The numbers are good. Engagement's up. They look at, I was
Not
shocked.
for trials.
We'll get to it. What we'll get, the thing about it is like, I always look at that metric, games played, and they are up there. They are up there. They just dropped it. I know we're going to talk about the, in the 12 with the whole, you know, which I was shocked, the Game Pass PC version, right?
Yep.
You know, I think the problem is it's hard to talk to someone when the money's coming in and the engagement's up. It's harder. They're more compassionate post Curse of Osiris when that engagements are low and people are still
Bungie
playing.
Summit times.
Yeah, right now it's hard to hear get a Bungie. You know what I'm saying? When things are looking good, that's my concern right now.
Yeah.
Things are still doing well.
That's why I hope Xbox is always second in the video game ecosystem, because I like Xbox better when they're not the leader of the pack.
Hungry, yeah.
I'm just like every season every time a new console launch comes out, I'm like, man, I hope they don't beat PlayStation. I hope PlayStation is always above them.
That's
You know what that
hungry.
dog metric? You know what that dog metric?
competition
I
is good.
want
like,
the underdog Microsoft. That's what I want.
I was like, I've been watching like PC hardware space for so long, and it's like Nvidia has been sitting there, Intel's been stagnant. Now you see AMD finally like even putting pressure, and Intel may actually sound like it might come back with Alder Lake and actually swing pretty hard. But it's like now it's finally to a point where that competition's there. It's like same thing in this and everything else. It's like
Intel's not coming back.
It's going to take
he
Intel
shook
at
his
least
head.
5 years. It's going to take them at least 5 years to maybe catch up or beat it. Like AMD has such a commanding lead now.
Oh, I mean,
Intel's just been stagnating for so long.
I was like, they do, but it's like, no, it was like, and then it's good to see at least them pushing each other is kind of all I'm saying. It's at a point where they are trying.
That competition is
Competition.
always
Yeah, that's always
right.
good.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that's
Capitalism
not,
is awesome.
I will say one thing that's not good is rewards versus difficulty in this game. And I got to talk about this one because
Let's go.
now that I've done Legend Shattered Realm,
Break
twice,
it down. What I'm missing.
solo,
What I'm missing.
you're missing a painful headache for not a whole damn bit of much of anything.
What's the rewards?
No. What rewards? Okay. Yeah, that
Wait,
jinx.
there's no unique rewards for the hard version of this.
So
You get a
Astral
third
Alignment,
chest, bro.
Astral Alignment, you know, you got your basic chest and you got your 100 currency chest. You get an extra 100 currency chest. All I got was literally an extra. I got one Fractithus from that one, and I got a second one from the bonus chest after the headache and the deaths and the like resets that we had from running out of time. And
Not even the double perk ones?
no,
They not even giving you.
nope, not even tier 3 rewards.
Continue.
Supposedly from the Legend Shattered Realm, that's what they said last week, they're supposed to be dropping high stat armor. I looked at the only 2 pieces of armor that dropped. One was 56 and one was 57. So it's like, if you think that's high stats, you're full of it.
Where's
I
the
got a
stealth
49
buff?
roll.
You got a
last
49?
week I did-
No.
That's worse than
so
mine.
I'm
here's my
so
story.
glad. Shout out to Disco
hold on.
Elysium. I am so glad I'm not doing this.
So there's a triumph that's part of the title that is you have to do each Shadow Realm legendary version, and you don't have to do them solo. But last week I was like, no one's on. I'm just gonna do the solo. I got like an hour to kill.
Yeah.
It's not gonna take me an hour to do the solo. An hour and a half later, because of that second encounter.
That second encounter is a bear.
That second
Absolute
encounter
bear.
is like a nightmare. Yeah,
Wow.
because the chiefs and captains that throw the
It's so
the
much.
spike balls at you.
So
Yeah, it was
so much.
terrible. But anyway, so
We'll cover it in a second.
I'm not doing it for the reward. I'm not doing it for the reward.
What you do?
I'm
Okay,
doing it because I need the triumph.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't care about the reward. But it'd be nice to get rewarded for my hour and a half of suffering during this terrible experience. I get to the end. and I get a chess piece, and I'm like, all right, chess piece. Let's see what we're working with. My chess pieces are actually the weakest of all my armor pieces. I only have 64 max that I like in that category.
Yeah, this guy's drowning in diamonds over here.
Y'all heard that rich man talk? He's like
I've only got 64 with a little. I've got a little too much strength in this one. I need a little more.
I'm a little too opulent, you know. So the chess piece drops, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, 49, huh? That's what I get for an hour and a half of this. Nope. And then this week we did Astral.
Bro.
I smudged together a barely cohesive team of my friends, the people that were willing to boot up Destiny, and Astral wasn't hard by any means. Like we probably could have 5-manned it or 4-manned it, but like you get to the end, and it's two chests.
Okay.
2 chests. You got to pay for, there's the OG
the currency,
the currency one you got to pay for, and then there's a new one that you can pay for, and then there's the one that's like free, and nothing. It's just another drop. Like that's it. And
no
you're paying
tier
for
3,
it.
no extra perks, no nothing. So last week was Debris of Dreams. That's the Scorn one. So you've done at least the Shattered Realm. You've seen them all, right, Cog?
Yeah, I've done all the Shadow Realms.
Okay.
All of them.
Yeah.
Those are amazing. Those are amazing.
So Debris of Dreams, the one with the Scorn, you kind of got the first ones in the big kind of like silo thing area, and you got the little raised platform. That one's all solar guys, and then Screeb's coming in whenever time. So you're soloing that one, trying with no radar, by the way, on either of these weeks.
Yeah, neither of them. Yeah.
Second beacon is the Arc Chieftains. The little bouncing arc balls that they shoot, I swear they're like magnetic pinballs in that entire friggin' arena. They go everywhere and somehow all go after you. It doesn't really matter how much they're going around.
And if the Abomination saw you at any point, it was like zap, dead.
You
like
have to delete
instant.
Those on spawn. Like the Abominations, the champions, you delete them on spawn or you may as well kiss your butt goodbye. That's the one thing I did say in my video is like, when you hear that spawn around these percentages, stand here, delete them, then you can try and survive the rest. Otherwise, you are totally screwed.
Got you.
This week, the beacons weren't too bad, per se, the first 2, because you got a little more space to work. You've got one wall that you can just kind of hide behind. But then the third one, you've got like an invisible barrier. And basically, you've got a bunch of these Arc Knights with like the solar triple shot crossbows going everywhere. You've got the boss, who's a knight, but can cast the like painful bubble of blackness.
Oh,
like the wizard bubble.
He's tough. Yeah,
but
the wizard
he's just
bubble,
roaming around. I am nowhere
roaming
invisible.
around, chasing you.
I'm nowhere invisible sight. Bubble. Can't even see me over here. Bubble. Like just hitting me with that thing all over. So I'm just like, jump up, peek, shoot these couple guys, jump down here. Jump up, peek, shoot these guys, jump down here. But it's like, I went through that, ran it. I think I ended up beating it like 3 different times because I was trying different loadouts. I actually ran through Corsair's Wrath for my heavy. So that's like a solar linear fusion. I ran with like the number, just an arc auto rifle because every one of those shields is arc. And I actually ended up using Arbalist for entertainment value, just so I could get the bonus from Particle Deconstructor. I did another one with Borealis. Borealis is actually probably the smoother choice, I would say. But like either way, you're actually messing around with like what loadout's going to work. I got to kill these. There's a bunch of shields, got some champions to manage. And yeah, you get done and it's like I saw the armor and I'm going, man, this. And that's kind of one thing I wanted to basically discuss is like legendary activities and rewards, because you go through, and I don't know if people feel the same way about Vault of Glass, but I've heard Master Vault's kind of in a similar state of like your effort of going through Vault versus what you're getting. And this is just kind of what makes me wonder when it comes to, somebody mentioned it probably in a comment or something, is like, is this what we're going to get in the legendary campaign? Next year with Witch Queen, are you going to go through and do this legendary campaign and then get a 56 piece of armor? And you're like, why did I just beat myself through this like hard mission and jumped up the difficulty? And a lot of where Destiny is at right now for me, and I just wanted to kind of get your guys' take on this one, is the juice is typically not worth the squeeze in the harder stuff. Trials is a different animal. It's like I'm not really putting that in there. But a lot of the PvE higher difficulty items, most of the time, the juice is worth like a triumph and a little pat on the back. But your in-game rewards typically are not much. Like even Newrad said, like your prime engrams are one of the best ways for decent stats. The random thing you get in the middle of who knows what versus doing this difficult activity. And I have 4 class items for my Titan. They're masterworked. I don't need to see a class item for the next 4.5 months. Ever. I don't need a blue. I don't need a legendary. I don't need a class item for the next 4 months, but much less anything else, whether it's like guns with double perks. We don't get many of those. So I wanted to ask you guys just where you are you worried about the future? Do you hope that's something they change? Do you feel I'm talking out of my butt here? Where are you guys on it? Like, juice worth the squeeze, difficulty versus rewards. Where are you guys at on all this? Because it hit me with like Legend Astral Alignment was like, I got people on stream, I'm live, pulled enough of them in thanks to crossplay, and we did it. But it was like, we failed a couple, ran out of time on kind of each encounter. Then I think we did end up getting the boss because there was no time, but we ran out of time on each encounter once, and then we got through it. We didn't get full wiped, but still, you go through all of that, and it's like 20, 25 minutes later, and I got 2 shotguns. So I wanted to see where you guys were all at on that.
Let's talk to Trav, our resident PvE expert.
That's me. You know me. PvE.
PvE takes no skill, right?
Me. Yeah, let's do our long running segment.
100% agree with that.
Long running segment of PvE takes no skill. Yeah.
100% agree with that statement. I have always thought that the endgame PvE activities weren't worth the rub, except raids. I mean, and dungeons. Like if they have unique loot, or to me, a PvE event has to be it has to be a means to an end. It's crazy that these events, the idea of them actually being fun is completely off the table. We're all talking about what incentive are you gonna give me to go through these, and that's like not a great starting off point. It's like, all right, I already don't want to do this. All right, so there we go. That's like the part of the premise. How are you going to convince me that I should do it? And as soon as I get into the doing stuff I don't want to do in Destiny, I'm like out most of the time, because I like to like Destiny. I like enjoying Destiny. And when I have to do these events, my opinion quickly becomes, okay, now I no longer am having fun and don't like this game anymore. So I try to minimize how much that I experience. But I 100% agree, E. For people like you who either are masochistic or for some reason do enjoy it.
You're not wrong on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think like if that's what you're into, they should sure as hell reward you guys, because like you're doing God's work or something. But it doesn't, like, the Grandmaster Nightfalls are like almost worth it. Almost. I don't really consider those events fun, just because they're like, hey, do you want to do the same strike you already did, but this time for some reason dregs kill you? Like, no, not at all. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Well, we're at least going to give you some rewards for doing it. That makes sense to me. But I honestly just think PvE endgame, you guys should have your own. You should have your own trials. Like there should be some content that's exclusive to the endgame experience, right? Where there's not an accessible version and then an inaccessible version, because the only way that that's going to be fun is if it's not a carbon copy of something that already exists, right? Like if you're just doing a version of a raid, but it's super hard, that's not super fun. But if you're doing a separate dungeon that only exists in a super hard mode, then I think that there's more incentive there. And that's sort of the problem with Destiny, is they're not really willing to do that. They don't want to lock anything behind an ultra challenging experience because of accessibility reasons. And I don't think you're ever going to get that. So if you're stuck with playing retreaded content that's artificially harder, they should absolutely be rewarding you guys. And I don't think that they've ever been good at doing that. So,
Teddy.
Yeah, I basically agree with most of that. I think I've talked about this before, but in Destiny 1, there was this major problem of the rich got richer, because you were getting your gear was so good that you were able to effectively do the end game activities much easier, whether it was PvP or raids in that game. And I think Destiny 2, they absolutely have been like, no, that's never going to happen again, which is why every hard mode or prestige mode or whatever, the rewards are never quite adequate. It's always just like a triumph or a title, which is their way of saying, well, there is a reason to do it, but it's not the loot reason to do it. And I think for me, that's just wrong, because I want to be challenged in Destiny. Like, I like certain Grandmasters if they're challenging. Some of them are just ridiculous, and I don't think they actually playtested the ones that are just absurdly difficult. But like Grandmasters, I would say, actually are in a pretty good place to counter you. They just issued a patch where it's 100% chance to get the gun now for the week. But here's the problem: now there's multiple guns per week, so you can't actually like target farm, which is silly. Yeah. But at least you're guaranteed the gun, right. Whereas before you were not. So that was a little ridiculous. But yeah. even without that, like the rewards for Grandmasters, I would say they've definitely gone a positive direction for that. I think raids definitely need some work. Master Vogue started off on a poor note, but I think they did it pretty smartly now with how you only get armor on master, and then the challenges are what give you the weapons for master, and then the system they have at the end of the raid I think is also really smart. But other aspects of the game, like you said, like if there was a dungeon that was exclusively this is a hard dungeon and you have to pay for it, I'm okay with that. Or if it was free, either way, like either model doesn't matter, because I just want to like, not to like pat myself on the back. I'm a god in Destiny. Like my character is a god, not me as a player. But like my character is absolutely
chest
out. my player, like I can put on what's like a really bad gun.
What about just an exclusive strike? Like it doesn't even have to be a dungeon. If they made a strike
right,
and they gated it behind Grandmaster, that would be huge. I would play that.
I sneeze on Drake.
We actually have to get new strikes.
Like that's
yes.
Well, that's
exactly
that's the problem.
And maps.
So like there needs to be, not only does there need to be content that is challenging, but the rewards should always be reflected. But Destiny's just never been that from the very beginning. That's why we have this problem of what is the incentive? Why do you want me to do this? Because from the very beginning, Destiny's had that problem of, well, I don't want to do this. This is pointless. Why am I running in circles for 4 hours to upgrade one gun? Or why am I
just
getting...
make the content compelling, man. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
what's up,
but
guys?
they've never have. That's the problem.
Real quickly, Teddy, because you sparked something to me, and that's why I like VOG, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm like, if I do it, I get Vex, and I like the fact low key Vex is the best thing ever. Right, because it's like it's worth the reward.
But December the 30th anniversary,
I know December.
that's going to get
my
brought
fun's
down.
over. My fun's over December. But I just like the idea that I did the hardest thing in the game, right? Allegedly, supposedly.
And you got
PvE.
it by RNG.
Oh, here we go. Don't you start. I'm be nice. We're not doing this 2 weeks in a row.
I know.
But at the end of the day, it is RNG, and he knows I agree with him on a fundamental level. But at the end of the day, it's just like it should be the most powerful thing, and it should incentivize people to be like, yo, I'm getting killed by this thing. Where did you get that? Oh, VOG, let me get my behind in there to get that and do the hard content. But if you're giving me Shadow Price and the Comedian,
I could care less about the Comedian.
What's the rocket launcher? Hot head.
I got one of those with like tracking and something reasonable, and I'm like, good. Got one.
Yeah, hot head with stability plus 2 mod. No, I'm not going through all of that. You got to give me that compelling, and it puts us back in that spot where we talked about with the Pinnacle rewards, which they clearly don't want to go back to. They clearly keep doing everything in their power to not do it. And I'm with you,
Teddy.
How
many horizontal weapons are we going to get? Like, there's not a whole lot of verticality with regards to the wards in the game. It's like everything is meant to be close to balanced for PvP. Because you can take your raid Vex and you can take that over into PvP, and they got to make sure that's not too powerful or doesn't feel completely different from PvE versus PvP. And I still...
PvP isn't even balanced as well.
I was like, PvP isn't... I was like, that's never going to be perfect. And it's like, at some point... Again, as you said, is a Grandmaster... For me, it's like I see somebody like EK. I see Swifty, who I'm actually working on getting on the show. Different people run these things. He's done 1,000 Grandmasters. You guys saw EK's Golden Vault. I mean, these people do it just because like they're doing carries and stuff, and they're, service streamers, and more power to them. They're doing awesome stuff. Cool. Salute. But I was like, is there any real benefit to a normal person to go and run? It's like, you get a gun that has an adept possible perk. You get a smidge more here, as you said, it's a smidge more there, and they can't go too over the top, and they need to at that. There's a point where they have to at some point, at least in the PvE side, because I mean, shout out to New World, because I'm chopping down 1,000 trees. I can still wander through a level 6 wolf as a level 33 and just be like do bam do, and it's like you run around and patrol and you still got to shoot a thrall, a couple times or whatever. There are moments you don't ever get something that really stands out. Like the perks, set bonuses, anything that really can make you better in PvE versus combatants. You could throw that on literally all these extra things you want to do. But at some point, for me, it's like, as you said, if I'm going to beat my head for an hour and a half and then I get a 49 chest, that's where you're like, I'm going to go see a movie. I'm going to shut it down right now. I'm going to go pick up a different game. When I get I'm like, I got an email about my monitor I've been waiting on forever. It's like a couple weeks out. Hopefully I'm almost there. when that comes in, I'm like, I want to see Ratchet and Clank in 4K, Death Stranding with DLSS. Like, there are so many things just like pulling at me to say, finally, I'm like, like, I don't. And for me, like, if I was good enough to carry people through Grandmasters, that'd be one thing. But even that, it's like, that's something I don't really want to do, because even at that point, it's like, all they're doing is like, hey, the Golden Vault or the 1,000, but they don't get better than anybody else for doing that relatively. They have efficient loadouts. Like Teddy's got 64 stats on anything, but are you ever going to get a piece of armor that's going to make you noticeably better? You might get one more better stat here, one more anything else. Like the fact that, you know, class items, you're good forever. You probably have been for a very long time. You like, oh, I got 4, just make it Stasis, max it out. Oh, I'm done with class items again. You were done as soon as Stasis armor came into the game in probably about 10 clicks, however long it took you to max a new one out, and you were done. And that's the hard part. Is I want like Witch Queen to work on the rewards, because they're talking about, hey, here's all the new weapon crafting and this type of stuff. Like, if it's still just going to be, hey, here's your Lincoln Green that's reskinned, and you can craft to put a couple of optimal perks in there. But it's like, is the effort going to be worth it to go through crafting? Who knows what the parts crafting grind is going to be? How many more currencies we're going to have? Like
how limited we are going to have
the
amount
like
of
how
the current currency
can you only craft like one weapon a week? Or if you're going to craft a piece of armor, you're going to need to go do 10 Grandmasters and spend all your shard. Like, I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'm still worried of like the time, the juice does not feel like it's not going to be worth the squeeze unless they change something. And that's kind of where, I mean, the armor I've asked for armor 3.0 forever and ever, but it's just like every so often I'll see a mark, I'm like, delete, delete, delete. I never need to see one of these in that slot again. And that just doesn't seem right at all. So
if the armor synthesis or armor transmog kind of structure is anything to go by, I'm very worried about crafting.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be at least 2 currencies of some sort. They said you can like recraft it to like upgrade it, and so that's
my mind at currency.
They subtly hinted that like there's recipes that you have to unlock, and like different levels of recipes and stuff. So like it's got like, and for me personally, like in order for me to use a different piece of gear, it has to be better than the thing I already have, and I have everything. Like whatever god roll, I probably have it. My armor I need to respec some stuff because I haven't really been playing actively, but like there's no reason for me to. I can still go into Master Vog or GM with my same load I've been using for 6 months, and I'm still gonna wreck it. It doesn't matter. And I want them to do something.
What if it's like the easy bake? Like we got the cookies and we gonna bake it up. We gonna do the.
I wish it was that simple.
We gonna bake up our craft. We gonna get all these materials. What is it?
Then you're gonna be out there doing like spin metal loops just to try and get your crafting materials again.
Radiant. What was it? Explosion. What's the name of them joints?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Like the Taken cookies and all that stuff. Yeah. Taken butter and the explosion.
Gonna be out there. Explosive touch.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, in a perfect world, whatever crafting is, the materials need to drop as I'm playing the game. Like I don't want to go pick up a bounty. I don't want to go do another activity. I don't like it. Just needs to be me shoot thing drops material.
Well, even when
to crafting table.
I even forgot this when we were talking about festivals. Like when you talk about currencies, why do I have to earn pages in one place to turn them into another page in another? It was like when I was thinking about Travis and like the currencies, I was like, why do I have to go earn 194 pages over here? Is that not enough for me to go play all your normal activities? Then you got to turn the currency into another currency, and then you got to take that currency and put it into a podium. And then you can read your book.
Did Bife come out with the lore? Did he come out with the video yet with all the lore pages? What it mean?
Oh, the reason why the reason why the headless ones exist. It kind of goes through. I was listening to somebody talk about it. There's like it's Glint.
There's an in canon reason. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Glint kind of talking about his multiple different speculations as to why the headless ones actually exist, and then kind of if you put some of the pieces together, you get an idea. Mylan's, I think, where I heard it because he was talking about it on DCP, so I think I heard that, but. Yeah, Mylan did one if you want to hear. But yeah, that's what it is. You go through and do all of that. Just go listen to Mylan's video in 20 minutes and save yourself hours of grinding. You're good.
Man, I'm glad I did this before they nerfed it. Oh my god.
I didn't, Teddy. So I'm in for the pain.
So
Well, we
know
got
what?
It's probably not bad for Crucible though.
This
Is
is
it
why I'm
Crucible?
the working man's Destiny player, you know? I'm going to feel the pain that they all feel, and I'm going to understand it. You know what I mean?
I feel
It's
you.
good.
God bless you. God
It's
bless your
good.
service. We appreciate you.
Here's the thing. I just want to say one thing, even though I'm not qualified to talk about this at all because I don't care about endgame PvE. We're all talking about the reward loop, and I agree it needs work. I agree, like, you guys need reasons to play it.
PvP does too, if this is where you're going.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
They
All
all
of it
do.
does. But
Yes,
wouldn't it be crazy if you actually wanted to play endgame PvE activities? Wouldn't it be interesting if the content itself is why you engaged rather than the reward for going
right.
through
Yeah,
the content?
which is
part of
This
that,
has
like,
always been my problem with PvE is like the reason raids work, in my opinion, isn't because they give good loot. That's part of it. But the main thing is that doing a raid is fun.
yeah, it's a
right?
unique thing. New experience.
It's a unique experience. Doing a dungeon is fun. Even the
Dungeon,
dungeons
unique.
that didn't have. Remember the first dungeon they did? The loot wasn't really good. I think
Shadowkeep?
they had like a non-exclude. They didn't really have an armor
Yeah.
set or anything attached to it. It wasn't very good. But the content made me want to play it, and not just once too. I played it a few weeks because I was just having fun doing that. And I just wish that PvE endgame activities were fun because that has been always why I've said no to them.
Yeah,
Grandmaster Nightfall, no, just not fun. I don't want to redo the same strikes.
Yep,
Just
bro,
make the
you nailed
content
it already.
good.
You nailed it already. It should be unique strikes that only you could do when that comes up. Like that's it, bro. Yeah.
Or maybe they're existing strikes, but they have different lore attached to them, or a different final boss, or there's something different about them that makes you want to like, diverging paths or separate dialogue. If there was just something in there that, because I would be 100% doing the astral alignment and all that stuff if there were some Mara monologues or a cutscene that unlocked if you made it to the end of all three of the different shattered realms, like something like that. But they just never. I feel like they're afraid to do it because they don't want to lock content behind stuff that most players won't be able to access. And so I think that as long as they take that accessibility approach, these endgame activities are always going to suffer. That's my opinion.
Valid.
I need to throw that away.
Yeah,
but look, the rich doesn't have to get richer if they don't make it about rewards and they make it about content or a cutscene or some extra lore. And I think the reason they don't do that is because they don't want to lock that behind.
Yeah, they don't want to.
They'll just lock it in the vault 3 years later.
I think they need to rip that Band-Aid off. They need to rip it off and just let people have fun. Give them a reason to do it.
But I was like, I mean, you joked. I was literally like, when it comes to me doing some of the stuff that I do solo, it's like you joke that I'm masochistic. It's like 100% at times from doing Mega Man 3 when I was a kid trying to go through and figure out those, like, you know, you only get a couple lives, you start the whole thing over. It's like, and you learn and it's skill mastery, but that's why I like Souls games now, is because you are rewarded in some different way, but you're rewarded in the mastery. And when you talk about Grandmaster, that's not so much, I mean, okay, not to say that like EK knows like, okay, this is here, use this weapon, shoot. Like there is some mastery to it, but it doesn't feel the same to me, at least. And Teddy, you might be able to, like, a Souls game level of mastery, and maybe it's just a different type versus like a team doing a Grandmaster, doesn't feel the same of like me understanding like a boss's moveset and then I can learn to dodge versus, you know, sit in this corner and do this. Like I watched the Esoteric, I was like, oh man, he's soloed Exodus Crash. I'm like, probably took some effort to get here, but what was the boss? Sit behind this one area, cheese, sit in a well as a warlock, and just constantly and like, and
it's
and
because
I'm like,
all the solutions feel cheesy in Destiny in the end game rather than in Dark Souls, where it's like I feel like I'm learning and getting better. You don't feel better. This is why I was poking fun at you last week, E, of like what are 2 weeks ago, what are PvE players actually good at? Is because like in PvE, the solution is always like, just have better gear or equip a mod or do this cheese. And that to me doesn't feel like, I don't look at a PvE player. When I see a really good PvE player in Dark Souls, I'm like, that guy like practiced and like learned attack patterns and all that stuff. And there's just none of that nuance in PvE and Destiny. And so that's why I sort of roll my eyes when I look at like the PvE tryhards. And I'm like, but what are you like good at? You're good at like knowing when to like use your super and then like chain orbs so you can like keep a shield up forever. And it's kind of like, you know,
I mean,
doesn't
I
feel
get what
up
you're
the
saying.
PvE
What I do respect about, I hear where you're going, right? But what I do respect about it is I like the creativity in loadout discovery for efficiency. I think that is cool because sometimes I'll watch I'll watch, SO, and obviously Teddy, you're one of those guys. Like, and shout out to Wilhelm Scream. Like, sometimes there's like older stuff that we would deem useless because we haven't used it in a long while, and then you realize it has a great effectiveness with this certain level of content based on the shields, based on the setup of the thing. But I understand what you're saying from like a pure skill ceiling.
Yeah, I'm talking about skill.
I know where you're going with that. I just like that. Wow, creatively, sometimes I'm like, oh wow, I could dust off this controversial hold or here to deal with this, or just different things. But I understand what you're saying. It's a different. I don't look at it as a skill based thing. I looked at it as a different type of challenge. But I do respect, though. I got to hold my man down.
Speedrunners.
I do respect the soloist. The soloist is a different beast.
I was actually going to say that too. About even like. I mean, it is because I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, so it's like as you guys were saying, that I was kind of taking myself like back for a second. I was like, I did the solo on Debris of Dreams, and as Teddy mentioned, that second beacon, I'm like, okay, I got to figure out. You're gonna spawn here. I wiped. Okay, I need to like kick off the beacon, be over here, hit the arc shields, run to the back of the room. And granted, it felt like a little of the cheese is hanging in the back of the room, so you're a little safe. So there's a little cheesy feel to it. But also, it's like, I know when I'm sitting there at like 30% or so, the first two guys are going to spawn. I got to make sure I nuke those. And then it does feel like a chicken with my head cut off. So there's times I feel like there's skill of like, hey, these guys are going to spawn here. I got to make sure I tag them right and quick to hit these guys in this order to do those things. So is there skill to it? Yes. But it's like sometimes like, the skill that you do get to like learn and understand the encounter, and you get the loadouts, which is a thing because I pulled out Borealis for this week and I was like, that actually does feel good. I cannot tell you the last time I used that weapon. I was like, it's a sniper, it lets me switch, it gives me some options, and it actually kind of worked out
so much better.
Yeah, so it's like that was one of those random ones that actually did count for that. But on the other side, it was also sometimes I still feel like, and then I got to the third beacon, and once again I'm kind of in the I understand what I have to do, but I was like, I kind of feel like I have to be a chicken with my head cut off at times just to get through it. Like jump up here, ding, ding. Oh, this one thing is like shoot me from over here, so I got to go back into cover. And it's like there is a safety of like watching the health bar and playing that, but it's like when you get up to like if they did like a master level and I peeked wrong and I get one hit, that's the point where it does kind of bug me.
There's just too much randomness, right?
Yeah, and it's not just like, hey, if I play a Souls guy and it's like I get smashed by a giant axe that kills me in 2 hits. If I get hit once, it's on me to make sure I don't screw up again. Either I get a healing or I play smart and I play safe and cautious. And you can play almost as safe and cautious as you can. And sometimes I feel like when you get to the highest difficulties, that's why GMs, at some point I'll get into those, but I still just really haven't because of how they feel in that kind of cheesy nature of like the artificial difficulty is the wrong word, but you do have very little margins for error. And you do on like some Dark Souls bosses. So I'm like, I know I'm kind of talking myself in the circle, but it's like, I'm really looking forward to Elden Ring. And I know how those fights are going to feel. And it's like, I played Grime, I played Death's Door, like multiple different games with like all those feels involved. And something about Destiny never quite has that same feel of like, I feel like when I was playing, the final boss in Death's Door, like that guy, there's a lot of pieces. I'm like, that is a long fight. And you finally get to the end. Same thing with the end of Grime. Both of those, like, but I kind of like, I watched, I learned, okay, I know this is coming. And it just doesn't quite hit the same for me. And I don't know if I can put my finger on why, I guess.
I think it's they lack mechanics and like timing stuff. Like there's no parry in Destiny. There's no like, all right, when he does this attack, I'm going to respond to this. And it's all just very like straightforward. I shoot him and I try to not get shot. Like if that's the extent of the like combat, it's never going to reach the level where you're like, all right, it's about skill and like learning. Because yeah, like I said, I respect somebody who like can speed run Dark Souls, but in Destiny, it's always felt like, okay, so you're good at like exploiting weapons or like figuring out different builds that like are basically just amount to you kind of experimenting. It's very different. And I think Bungie has always been afraid of adding like mechanics or timing based stuff because it's a accessibility thing, right? It adds a barrier. They don't want that in their game. Raids are barely enough for them, and it's kind of assumed you're going to watch a video and like come knowing what to do already. So they kind of, it subverts that requirement already, except for people who do it blind, which like I do it blind and it's great.
Yeah.
But
Teddy, you going to say something before you move on?
Yeah. So I got 2 things. So kind of, I mean, Ebontis hit on most of the points that I was going to counter from Travis, but Destiny does have nuance, but it's just not like, it's not the Dark Souls level of nuance. And there are things that, like, as a skilled player, that you learn from, like, when to pop your super, or when to pick up the orbs that have been sitting there for a while, or when to use a certain gun, or like maximizing your ammo for GMs and stuff like that. Maybe not necessarily in the raid. So I think there is, to counter you, there is a level of, like, knowledge and skill from there. And in Destiny does have somewhat of that old NES style game of, like, you learn from failure from the harder difficulty activities, but it's not to the same level because no game is ever going to go back to that. Maybe Dark Souls, but that's what they're known for. That's their thing, right? Yep. Your failure is the experience.
I think it's becoming more common. I think games are starting to go back and not be afraid to be hard.
Because people want that.
People want it now.
People want it. There's a market for it for sure.
Yes.
Right. And then my second point is, I can kind of explain why Destiny kind of feels cheesy sometimes, at least in terms of the AI. So if we backpedal all the way to Halo 1, one of the things that made Halo 1 so revolutionary was the AI. The AI was so ahead of its time. And the reason for this is two things that Bungie developed. I don't think they invented it, but they definitely refined it to the point where everyone was using this for the next 2 decades.
Break it down.
They created behavioral trees.
Yes.
So that AI would do certain things based on the player's positioning and what the player was doing. So the easiest example I can give you is, if you throw a grenade in an elite, what does the elite do? The elite rolls.
Yes.
50% of the time. In Halo 1, 2, and whatever, I don't know, whatever games. They changed it in later games, but effectively it's the same thing. And there's a myriad of things. Another example is, if you kill the brute in a pack of a brute and grunts, or an elite, the grunts will freak out and they'll stop shooting. Yeah, right. And stuff like that. And you learn that as you play over time. The second thing is, the AI were extremely reactionary to the actual mission structure and scripting of the mission. Destiny is also very scripted. We just don't see it as often because of the open world nature. And sometimes you just see enemies just standing there. They're not doing anything. So when you play like the GM level content where everything's one-shotting you, it's because they're reading your positioning and inputs for certain things. And that's why it feels cheap and cheesy sometimes. So then you have to do these really dumb things like standing all the way in the back of the map where the snipers can't hit you, or you gotta nuke the enemy before it spawns, because that's the best strategy to not deal with the chieftain's bombs or the abomination or stuff like that. And so I agree with you. I think there should be more nuanced mechanics or timing mechanics or stuff like that. Like if I could parry an enemy in Destiny, that would be amazing. That would be awesome. But
time that hunter jump at the right time,
right? Or if I melee, if I use my Warlock melee at the same time that an enemy throws something at me, I can bounce it back or something. I don't know, something cool like that, right?
I mean, it is
to your point.
Oh, I just wanted to say,
ever do it.
No, I just wanted to say one thing, because you mentioned just like the mechanics of like throwing a grenade and they dodge, and you like. Why is it the higher level enemy that you face, they're all big giant weenies that go hide? All of them in Destiny are like knights. Like, and honestly, somebody was mentioning it to me, and it's like, and it seems accurate, and you probably could confirm. If you aim down sights at something, it moves. It knows you're doing that. And as you said, if the Grandmaster's so I'm sitting there looking down a sniper rifle, like far enough away to barely be able to see the stupid wizard's head. But if I look at it, it moves. I'm like, I'm so far away, you don't even know I'm here. And then I sit there and I go through Deathloop, and you're like, yeah, those guys are on the other side of dumb, which is, I mean, that was part of the fun of that game. They're actually kind of, I think, gave a little beef to that recently, but that's one of those things. Like, if I pull out a weapon, it's like, hey, you're there, and all of a sudden it's like you're just hovering. Okay, I'm gonna take this one shot, whoosh, and I'm like, I miss. I'm like, that's not me, like, not lining up my shot. That's the game saying, hey, you're looking at me, I'm gonna move just because you're looking at me. And that's like, that takes away from like, hey, let me line up the shot because I'm in a safe piece of cover. I found this right now. You're over there. The Shrieker I took care of just a second ago. All right, let me work on this section now. I look at you, move. And I'm like, and then you start losing ammo, and then ammo's unreliable, and it's just like compounds on another. I'm like, you're going to put this in a harder situation. You know what I'm going to do before I do it. That's kind of cheap.
How many times have you shot a projectile weapon, either a fusion rifle, rocket launcher, or a Minotaur, and it teleports right as the bullet is about to hit? Or whatever you're shooting. How many times have you done that? Because it knows, and it is cheesy. Like, so to finish my analogy or my explanation, Halo's AI has been revolutionary for so long, and Destiny Cop uses the same thing, but they advanced it by making the AI server side rather than on the client side. But it's showing its age. Like they're still doing. I mean, they're more complex, obviously, now than they were in the days of Halo, but it's just not a fun experience for players. And I think most people don't realize that that's what's happening, but like. I mean, you picked it up. You learned on your own that aiming down sights causes them to move. I just do that from Halo. So even in Destiny 1, I was like, oh, if the enemies are hiding like they always did, or they always do, just don't aim down on sights and they'll pop back out. And I've been telling people that for years, but they need, the AI definitely needs an update. Like it's certain GMs and certain high level content can just be absolutely abysmal, not because it's actually challenging, but because Bungie just uses a slider to increase the, I mean, this is, I'm oversimplifying it, but that's what it is.
So
like enemy accuracy and enemy knowledge is like 10 out of 10. And you're like, I'm playing chess. I'm working at checkers here and you guys are already over 2 chessboards over. It's like, that's not fair.
Yeah. I'm playing chess and they're playing 4D chess. And they can see me through time.
Yeah, like they know before I even make the move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if you've ever played chess against a computer that's turned all the way up, it's basically impossible to win.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Well, the final major piece this week, obviously Festival's still going on. You got Exodus Crash going on in the Nightfalls, which could have fun cheesing that one. But the big one coming next week is going to be Freelance Trials. This weekend. I'm sorry, it's this weekend. So in less than 24 hours, Saintful Teen will be dabbling in another labs weekend for Trials of Osiris. It is freelance. Basically, nobody goes in as teams. And there is, I want to kind of say before we get into this, I sent myself something. I think DMG posted something on Twitter. Reddit, it looks like. Says a few things. And that's between trials population and other stuff. It says, it's expected that the trials population decrease week over week. The team is doing work to see what can be done to reduce the decline or even increase population occasionally. But right now we're in a period of trying new things. Between the rework to rewards and trials labs every few weekends, we're getting a ton of great data to inform potential changes to the mode in the future. We want trials to be the best that it can be, as we want Destiny to be the best that it can be. There will still be bumps. There will be hiccups. We're excited about the knowledge we're gaining and what could come about in the future. Number 2, Flawless Pool will be enabled on Sunday. The team is cooking up changes for trials matchmaking and will provide additional information when we have it. I mentioned another comment. It looks like we may have it in the TWAB next week, but can't promise it yet with regards to the Flawless Pool is eventually something they do want to get rid of. It's just kind of like a band-aid for the moment. And they said in terms of uncompetitive matches, team is investigating. As we introduce more labs weekends and address feedback from previous, we're still digging through data in terms of players are resetting at 6 wins. It seems that's a minuscule population of players is actually doing that in practice. Yes, it's an issue that needs addressed, but it's not burning down the playlist to the extent that some are stating. Thanks for continuing to shoot feedback our way in discussions. While we can't reply to every single subject in every single TWAB, these conversations we're having in meetings pretty frequently. Just as you guys were saying, they're good at bringing all the information in, watching the Twitter, keeping that information, getting it going to you. But it was like, I also wanted to mention to you guys, like, whether it's population numbers or anything like that, like it is kind of stuff that's going down. So freelance is coming. And basically the big thing is freelance labs is going to be this weekend. So you're going to have solo players only all in there. And then I guess everybody's got to theoretically be threes, because I don't know how you're going to do, or I guess you can go into the trials playlist as a solo player and find the 1-2 stack that's in there, but it's probably not going to be great. And I actually
there will be 2 stacks, and then there will also be people who just don't know about the freelance playlist. Because
what's that button do?
They always make it this like tiny node on the directory, which confuses me. Like why not make that one the bigger one, since most people are playing solo? But
yeah, so I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts. I wanted to give it to Travis first. Just, kind of where Trials has been. The fact that I actually kind of missed it when Iron Banner was here was weird. I'll say that. What? Yeah. No, I was like, Iron Banner was here, and I'm like, that's like, if you do your Iron Banner bounties, like, I'm kind of good at that playlist because, that it's not a directed farm. You can't take the tokens and buy a certain role. Like, Trials gets the update, and we're still waiting for an Iron Banner update. So then I'm kind of going, at least Trials, I know I can go after certain things. The armor that drops in there has actually usually got pretty good stats. Like, it's actually not a bad place to spend even time of me getting beaten down. Like, I jumped in on Sunday afternoon after that Flawless went live last week. Yeah. And I still was facing, like, I know there was a team. I looked them up later. They'd been Flawless like 30 times. And some reason I'm playing these people. I'm like, why are you in here? But Travis, where you at?
Matchmaking's not great. Yeah, I haven't been playing a lot of Trials recently. I sort of, I went Flawless the first couple of weekends that it was around, and then afterward I was sort of like, all right, well, got all the armor, got all the weapons, and it's not really a mode that I go to for like competition or improvement anymore. Just because it's, you know, you're either facing groups that have already gone flawless, and like I like placing those groups, but because there's no ranking, right, or skill based system or anything like that, it's sort of it's just the Wild West, right? You never know what you're gonna get. You're gonna crush some teams, get crushed by other teams, and then the rare like balanced match that's actually fun isn't really worth that sort of effort. So I predict that the Trials playlist will probably continue to get smaller, just because there's not a whole lot of reason to do it, and I don't think it's unique enough a game mode anymore to really like draw an audience. So I'm sure they'll continue to work on it, but yeah, I'm, you know,
it's gonna be a long season for you.
Yeah, I think I'll be vindicated in time over the stuff I said about like the changes they made to it. I do think them making a freelance playlist is probably a good move, because just like for people who want to play against full stacks like myself, and you're in a team of 3 and then you get a team that just has absolutely no chance because there's like solo people playing it, that doesn't feel good. So I think that that's good for them to do it, but I just think that there are too many changes to Trials that they'd have to do to make it the mode that I want to play. And there's not really an alternative for me, right? There's not a Rocket League-esque ranking system where I can play my peers or anything like that. So I've been sort of down on comp in Destiny for a little bit, but we'll see what happens, man. Still love the game, but yeah, I haven't really been playing Trials recently. So
Teddy,
I don't know if that tells you anything.
Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, I only played Trials the first like 3 weeks and basically stopped caring. I got the Godworld Reed's Regret before Trials was even active because I saved a bounty from the previous season.
Nice.
Oh damn.
And then the week that it was available, which I think was week 2, I got a better one and an adept one or whatever that is like marginally better. But I mean, Trials for me is always, I'm always going to go in a group. I might actually solo it this weekend because there's a
Just
challenge that I have to do, and there's no way I'm going to be able to coerce 2 friends to go in.
What's
there
the
with me.
challenge?
So it's just win 20 rounds. They did it last season too.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, it's just one of the seasonal tribes.
So,
Yeah, it's just play Trials.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay. Just play Trials.
I've so far enjoyed what they've done with it. I haven't played like the labs weekends where they had like the flag or whatever.
Yeah, the flag. Oh yeah,
Or
but
they
that
tried to
was
change
That
some other
didn't
stuff.
go
Yeah,
over great, so that's probably okay.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't too great, but I don't know. Like, I saw someone mentioning on Twitter that they should release more stats every week like they were initially, and I think they should do that because people want to know that stuff. And the fact that we have to go digging for it every time, either using Charlemagne or Destiny Tracker or stuff like that, and those numbers aren't necessarily like perfect because they're the way they're generating. I mean, they're accurate, but not. Bungie has the actual numbers. So stuff. I'm pretty lukewarm about it. Like, it's whatever. It's Trials. I'm at a point right now where I boot up Destiny, like I said, on Tuesday. I get my triumphs done, my challenge is done. I play for an hour, 2 max, and then I'm done. Like, I got other stuff going on. Destiny, I needed a break from Destiny, and I'm not gonna go trying to give myself an aneurysm in Trials. So,
Carl, what about you, man?
Yeah, I've been I'm probably obviously the opposite of everyone here. I've been enjoying it. I look forward to playing it every weekend. I was bummed when Iron Banner came because I was like, damn, there's no Trials this week. Now I miss it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like the freelance is for me. This is literally for me. Like I play at weird times of night. Getting people together is sometimes difficult. Again, I shout out the crew when they do grab me and scoop me up. And sometimes, to be honest, I'm late when I'm jumping in. I'm past the flawless pool because I'm just so busy. You know what I'm saying? Prepping for other stuff. So I'll come in on a Sunday and a Monday, and then it's super sweat flawless people central. You know what I mean? It's just So for me, I like this. This is what I do for Banner. Like, I'll jump in Banner, I'll jump in that freelance, and I like the idea of knowing that everyone else is in my situation. Everyone. So if I lose, I'm like, okay, those 3 guys are by themselves. But it's tougher when you go in there and it's when you plan to play the solo Trials experience the way that it was set up prior, and you know that you're gonna play. I almost like frown when I see 2 clan names on this opposite team when you fly in,
Or
and
one
like,
clan name on all 3 of them.
Yeah, because you're like, you're gonna get crushed. They're gonna be
you are.
coordinated.
I mean,
you're not.
it is a rare moment.
As it should be.
Yeah, it's so rare when you're like, hey, there's 3, and like you're like, oh, we run out, and you're like, do I have like a banger on my team? Like, what just happened? Like, I actually pulled a match out, and then they seem to be like, oh, we got to take this serious, and then but it's very rare. But more often than not, you see 3, and you're like, can I just like hit the like default forfeit button and move on to the one that might actually be fun? Because
to be honest, it's to me when I see 2, even the 2 with the 3rd, like I'm like, if
you're all solos, it's still gonna be because they're pretty coordinated.
Solos, yeah, because you know what? I get mad. I'm like, how come I'm never the 3rd random with the 2 clerics?
It's rare. If you do get that, that actually happened to me.
I'm never that guy.
Well, that actually happened to me, and they actually sent me an invite, and I ended up playing with them.
Playing with them, right?
Yeah,
they were like, hey,
yeah, because they were like, hey, you kind of held your own. Basically, they were like, we needed a 3rd who basically wasn't complete trash, and I was like,
was it a potato?
That's me. I'm not a potato. I have a potato and working arms. That's it. Small upgrade, but I was like, I was able to do okay, and they're like, hey, we just need somebody that can help kind of roll us out. So they actually invited me to their team. I was like, I would at least like type chat, which does help if you're not on console, because at least I can type. But yeah, I was like, for me, it's the solo will be nice because I know everyone will be solo. I was like, and at least in those matches, there are times for my mediocre average person, it's like the ones where it's like, I know you're saying some are sweaty, some are not. The ones that are sweaty and it's like, it's 4 to 5. And I'm like, that was actually a fun match, even if it's at like a low skill level. Those are fun. It's bummed when I lose the 4 to 5. It's like we almost pulled it back, but we didn't quite get there. But there was fight, and we're kind of going, yes, that actually. So it was like, that's why I want to play this weekend. My brother's going to be here this weekend. He actually wanted to try and jump on the podcast.
What?
He's at a wedding in Fort Worth instead of Dallas, and he was like, when's the podcast? And I was like, it's tonight. So yeah, he's going to be at my house tomorrow, so he'll be around for the weekend.
Shout out. I miss Stone. Tell Stone what's up, man. I like Stone. Yeah, like I said, I want to try this mode. I want to see what it is. I think the bigger issue to me when we're looking at population stuff and all that, I think a lot of stuff is overblown as far as not as far as like, I don't want the stuff Travis is talking about. I do want that. I do want that skill gap thing. I mean, skill ranking thing. But what I feel is the real issue, again, it goes back to what we said earlier, is always going to be incentive, right? Because at the end of the day, once you get your God roll reads, I mean, Teddy already had his before he even got in.
But
right?
The thing is, Teddy's not a PvP player. He's always going to need incentive to get into the mode. I honestly think like if you made trials feel good, if you implemented
I disagree, because
system,
even if you have that, we just established, if the rewards are not worth it, it doesn't matter how good it feel. If you go in there and you get in the same crappy guns that been existing from 2 trials before, it doesn't matter. We've already established that if the rewards are not good, it doesn't matter how great something is. It's people are going to drop off. And the only thing that they had this season was a Stasis linear fusion rifle that nobody seen before, and it had firing line and Vorpal, and you're like, yo, I need that. Once you got that, you already had Igneous, you already had Messenger, you're not going in there for no armor, and you definitely ain't going in there for no celerity. So at the end of the day, disincentive.
I think that's a certain type of player that only wants to go in, but those are like edge cases who maybe don't want to play PvP to begin with, right?
You gotta get a reward.
They're getting lured in, right? Like if I felt like 9 out of 10 matches in trials, I was going to be playing people that were at my skill level and having close matches, and I was having fun, I would not care what the reward is. To be honest,
you represent a very small percentage. If you poll a lot of people and say, "Yo, what are we playing this for? For yay, the sense of competition, or yo, you're gonna get a hot gun." I guarantee if we run that poll, the gun people gonna win.
It's called competitive for a reason, right? Like the idea is that you're playing. But that's the thing.
Rewards.
Like, why do people play Halo?
But that's a different game. There's no loot and exotics in Halo. That's false. You can't make that. But you can't make that comparison. This is a loot-driven game.
I'm using it to make my point for me, which is that if the multiplayer's good, people don't care about loot. People don't care about loot when they play Halo because the multiplayer is good.
It's not a looter shooter. It's not the same game.
Of course it's not. But
it's not the same game.
Destiny's not a looter shooter when you're playing PvP either. You're not
There's
getting
loot rewards
from
in PvP. There's Pinnacle rewards. There's competitive rewards. There's exotic. It's not the same. You cannot put what Halo is doing and one-to-one compare that to Destiny. They're not the same game. You can't.
I can understand they're not the same game,
thing.
but I'm saying people play parts of the game for different reasons,
of course.
right? And I think PvP is where you take your loot and you put it to the test.
Okay.
Not necessarily a place where you need to be earning loot. I say, of course, if you're earning loot, that's a plus and it'll draw in certain players. But
the majority of players in Destiny play for loot, Travis. You can't escape that. You keep trying to act like that's a minimum thing. You play this game for loot. That's it. You don't play it for you don't. The majority of people are not just playing it for the love of the game. That is not a Destiny player.
I think Destiny PvP players, they play PvE for the loot. They play PvP to put their loot to the test. And I think that if the experience was in equal matches where they were really competitive and you were getting to put your skills and the weapons
and they get no good gun at the end of it, and they're going to stay, they get no reward.
All I'm saying, Cog, is the reward would matter a lot less. And now it matters a ton because the game doesn't feel good. And that's why the Teddies of the world log off. And it's why I log off. Like, I'm not even playing it because
I get that.
Even honestly, Cog, even if there was good loot and there has been good loot in the past, I wouldn't play because the Trials experience isn't good.
But again, you represent the small percentage that you refuse to acknowledge that you are the small percentage. You are not the majority. You do not represent the majority of Destiny PvP players. You don't. But you keep over conflating your opinion as if you represent the majority. You don't.
I think
I'm
you're
sorry.
Over-conflating yours.
You don't.
I think you're over-conflating yours.
The stats prove that it's being played more than it's ever been played. So the stats are still in my favor, even with a decline. They're in my favor. In your favor, they didn't exist. They didn't exist.
Of course, when you lower barriers and you say, hey, there's a new thing, people are going to flood in. The test of time is, will it maintain that or will it go down because people aren't having fun? And I think I will be vindicated. I think over time you'll see that
it's no vindication. There's no loot. Everyone's got what they got. There's nothing to be vindicated with. At the end of the day, it's people playing versus people not playing. That's the vindication.
So then I could say the same excuse before Trials wasn't working because everybody just had their loot and didn't care about new loot. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't.
You really want to compare the numbers of Trials now versus Trials when it was?
We don't know the numbers because they're not telling us.
Right, but so you think they were comparable?
Teddy? You all right over there?
I ain't touching this one.
I'm just
you gotta listen. I love Trials, but it's like I hate the fact that because of how he feels, he thinks that represents the majority, and I completely disagree. He does not represent the majority of PvP players in Destiny. Because he's not playing because he doesn't have the ranking system does not mean the majority of people in Destiny are not having fun still playing the mode. And they got the numbers.
Does it sound crazy to you, Cog, that I think that the reason most people play PvP is to have fun and not necessarily for the carrot at the end
but
of that?
it's not acting like you're acting like the game is not fun at all. That's the part. That's the part I completely disagree. You're acting like it is a terrible mode.
Guys. One at a time. I'm going to start playing Ref.
All I'm saying, Cog, is the imbalanced matchmaking experience where you don't know if you're going to go up against somebody who's super powerful or somebody that you're just going to crush is an inherently not fun and not healthy experience for PvP. Right. And if they could just fix that and make the PvP mode good in and of itself, the loot would matter less.
But
it would be more about people would play Destiny for the reason they play Halo, for the reason they play Rocket League, not for the loot, but for the experience.
I'm going to say something. Hold on.
Okay, last point, and I swear I'll stop. The point I'm trying to say is, in a perfect world, right? Everything he's saying are ideal situations that we all want. This is still a mode that is
why are you dying on a hill where you don't give him like 1 grain of salt?
Who, me?
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, I feel, this is my opinion, that because he is not happy with the mode, he feels that represents the majority of players, and that his point will be proven because everyone else kind of feels that it's not a fun mode. All I'm saying is they're continually tweaking and trying to get things right while enjoying the best numbers they've had in the mode since maybe D1. So to me, it's still a success. That's not a failure to me. That's not something that everyone's looking at it like, yo, oh my God, this is so bad. I'm not playing anymore. There's still a bunch of issues that still have to be fixed. That's all I'm saying. I'm done. You can take.
I got you. And all I'm saying is that if the only reason the player base is high is because they want the rewards and they're not having fun during the experience, I have a problem with that.
And I'm not saying that the only reason why they're doing it was the issue was it was so inaccessible and people were getting crushed. People were getting
I agree.
stomped.
That's bad. I don't want that to be the case.
So there are more issues,
I'm with
right?
you. I think both of the trials
right?
experiences are bad. I think both of them are bad. And
so we
the only
agree?
way you fix this, yes. The
Can
only
we
way
agree
you fix
that there
this
are
is
more
if you
issues?
make trials. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. There's just more issues. That's all I'm trying to say. It's a
You
it's a
guys,
whole
you
lot
guys
there.
got there on your own. This is just beautiful.
I told
We
you.
have strong opinions. I want Destiny PvP to be
No, and all I
good
wanted to
in and of
like,
itself.
And I want my friends to play the mode. I'm tired of nobody wants to play trial. I'm tired of it. I hate. That's my favorite mode in Destiny. I love this thing so much. I'm going to fight. Yeah.
You realize my solution actually makes the mode more accessible than it is right now.
I disagree with that.
If you put because look, if you put ranked systems, the Ebontises of the world are going up against the other Ebontises, so they're still having a competitive match. But E will be way more likely to go flawless if he's in a ranked system. Maybe he's at bronze 3. No offense, E, but maybe you're bronze 3. But it actually makes it more accessible, and it makes people like me who want to play at my level, which might be higher. It also gives us what we want. So, like, I just don't see how my solution is bad at all.
Okay,
I
want to say,
hold on. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that.
Okay, I want to say something. One, D-Juarez in chat says, how many people jumped off a cliff when there was an igneous hammer versus a less desirable gun? That leads very much into what Cog is saying, that loot is very important. But on the other side,
I agree because it's not a fun game mode.
I'm not done.
Yeah.
How long on the other side, when PvP actually does feel good, helped keep Destiny alive just because people enjoyed the activity of Destiny PvP? So it's both of those. That's why I was listening to both of you. I'm like, you're both right. You're just like arguing for no reason. So it's like,
no, but
loot does
my
matter.
thing is don't act like his. My thing was he's mad, get me mad. It's like, don't act like his way is the only way to be fixed. That's what was getting on my nerve. Like, I'm acknowledging his way.
Really,
and
what he was saying
acting
on
like
that
my
one.
way was
I wasn't
wrong.
saying that, dude.
That's all I was saying.
I wasn't saying that.
That's all I felt. That's how I felt.
I promise you I wasn't saying that, Cog. All I'm saying is
that's how I felt. So I apologize because I thought that's how you felt.
No, I really don't feel that way. Obviously, I want the loot to be good. I just don't want the loot to be the only reason people play the mode. The mode should be good in and of itself.
Yeah,
and right now, I don't feel like it's
Crucible
there.
is a fun, if Crucible is a fun experience, matchmaking is decent. You have good matches like my 4 versus 5s. It's one of those things you'll play because, like, I don't have a whole lot going on. I'm going to go play Crucible or I'm going to go play Trials because, hey, this could be fun for a little while, even though I don't need the loot. Is there a reason to go after the Pinnacles, to go after the Igneous, to go after the Readers of Regret? Absolutely. And those need the ranking system, a reason to go to the top of that leaderboard does need to be there because the carrot needs to still be on the stick. But also, as Travis is saying, if PvP sits in a good place and I go into matches and I'm having fun, if weapons feel relatively balanced, which we worry is never going to be there. But it's like, if the mode feels decent, that's going to just give, again, Destiny another leg to stand on, as opposed to when it is just PvP. So it's like, you guys were yelling and I was just like kind of letting it go, but that's why I wanted to stop it. Because you're both right. Like, the mode should be fun on its own, as Travis is saying, even if the loot is less important, you have a good time in there is good. But also, as Cog's saying, loot is important. People jumped off a cliff for an igneous hammer, so we need both. Like, that's,
I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying
we need both, and I think we're totally Teddy. Before we wrap this thing up, because we are getting a long one. Of course, you're on here for a long show. Do you have any dog in this fight at this point, or at least an opinion?
The only thing I'll say is kind of sort of to Travis's point, or I guess Cog's point. They have been trying to make the matches more competitive, and they even mentioned that this week in the TWAB. They're trying to minimize the 1-5s or the 0-5 matches because they want that experience more competitive. And there absolutely is a level of SBMM that's going on in the background. So I don't
is
think
it SBMM or is it? We've talked about this before. I don't think it's SBMM.
Yeah. I mean, I agree there should be some ranking system, but I think Destiny's just like they're dealing with other problems. Like they're fine tuning it so that down the line they can do this. I said this last time I was on the podcast. I think all these trials changes are just one big experiment for them to gather all this data so that come Witch Queen and during the year of Witch Queen, they can really, really hone in trials, because I think trials has to evolve. I think the 2015 trials doesn't work. Like it just doesn't. And to Cog's point, I agree. Like I think for the most people, you need an incentive to go into the mode and play. There are the Travises of the world that are like, I just want to play for the rank because I want a competitive experience, and the reward comes second. But Destiny is first and foremost, has always been a looter shooter, and you do everything because the reward is the thing that is you're chasing the carrot. That's like the point of the game. I'm not saying everyone is like that, but that's just how
I'm
it
just
is
saying,
for most people.
I think the carrot is to get you to play the mode or to try the mode or whatever. But if you fall in love with the mode while you're playing it, and then you're just playing it just for the sake of it, then you get a situation like why people play Halo, while people play Rocket League, which is not all about the reward. It's about just you do it because it's that's the means to the end. And I just want Destiny to be more like that. Like it's basically the same point I made for PvE, which is like, why are you suffering through Grandmaster Nightfalls just to get a box with some loot at the end? Shouldn't you be playing a game mode that you actually like and also get some loot from it? And that it's my problem with PvE, and it's my problem with PvP. The end game in Destiny is just in a really bad place, aside from raids and dungeons. Everything else that they've tried with endgame has just not worked.
The difference between those multiplayer games that you mentioned and Destiny is that the progression is different in both games. In those multiplayer games, you're progressing a rank, and that's all you're progressing, maybe cosmetics. But in Destiny, the progression isn't a rank. It can be, but it usually it's more usually your armor, your weapons. And so the primary thing you are chasing to ascertain is not, they're different. So I think the comparison isn't
but I mean, also like, okay, well, I was going to say, the primary thing that you're going after is the loot, yes. But if there was a secondary thing to go with it, it gives you reason to extend the life of.
And
so, like, that's again what you're going for is like, if the loot's the primary thing, try this thing. It's fun. Secondary is the rank. Hey, my rank moved up a little bit. Okay, well now this will be kind of a thing you do. That's what I think you're getting at, Travis. You want to have extension of it.
Ranked systems also have loot associated with them in pretty much every game. So like, in Hearthstone, if you reach like Diamond tier, there's a whole list of here's the rewards you get at the end of the season if you manage to get to this tier. And so you can also attach rewards and loot to like ranking up that system. And in my mind, that's just like, that's got to be part of adding a ranked system. Is I have to have a reason to want to progress from silver to gold over the course of a season and get better, because the rewards that I get at the end of that season, if I reach that tier, are higher. And then at the end of the season, everybody goes back to unranked and they have to like re-earn and find their place in the ladder. I just think that sort of system would solve a lot of the like problems with imbalance in matchmaking and imbalance in trials and getting those lopsided matches, and it would give people like a sort of another bar to chase, right? Like a way to level up. So
and my final point I want to say is the reason why I say we have to be careful with saying that it's no reason to go in there right now because it's not fun. When I see the community, how excited they get, because to me, I think this is my bigger point. I think Mercules, when we had him on, said it best. There's a subset of people who are the best people in PvP, right? And those guys are always going to aspire, and those guys are going to be great. But I think when there's the hope that you can actually go, right, to go flawless, that you can actually go, that when people are not completely destroyed, and I agree that the matchmaking is still not perfect, of course, but the fact that there is hope now to incentivize people to try the mode, to get in the mode. You know what I'm saying? I think that, to me, is the overall greater good, which comes into the accessibility argument, right?
Well, what we have now is better than what we had, for sure.
That's all I'm saying.
My point is that a ranked system would make it better for everyone. It would make it better for the Mercules of the world, and it would make it better for the
I agree, and I'm not disagreeing with a ranked system. I've never once said, hey, I don't want a ranked system. Hey, I don't like it. All I'm saying is I just look at the overall greater good for the community. I don't think about just my personal need. I think about little Johnny who got destroyed every round one that he jumped in. Every round one. And when you got a guy like Ebontis who would never play, never. And he's like, yo, I kind of missed it.
I'm a bit of a masochist though, because when I did jump in last weekend, and when the matchmaking doesn't hit right, it sucked until I found those two.
That's my point. When matchmaking doesn't hit right,
I was like, I didn't have anything to do. Throw on like something in the background, and I'm kind of like halfway going through because I keep seeing 3 stack and 3 stack and 3 stack. So it's like I'm looking for a little of that, but it's like, yeah, you guys. You're both good. You're like, I get where you guys are both at. We don't need to kill it anymore. Like. We both want this mode to evolve and get better and give, a lot of different levels of people a reason to go in, whether it is the fun of the mode, the loot, a combination of both. I think that's a good thing if we can get there.
Yeah.
Accessibility
one more
first,
thing, which is a
ranking
completely
second,
separate
and then rewards. It's a trifecta. It's a thing.
Yeah. One more thing that is a completely separate point from everything else we've talked about, which is that when I make my points, people try to put me on the opposite side of accessibility, that like I'm an elitist and that I want this experience that's like premium and only accessible to certain classes. And that's just not true at all. Like I'm not at the same skill level as Mercules. I don't want to like match Mercules. I just want to match people who are in my skill range. That's not anti-accessibility. I'm not some fucking like, I'm not some like god who's like at the top pinnacle. I used to be really good at Destiny PvP, but I haven't been that in years because I play other games now because I have to for IGN reviews and stuff. I just don't have the time to be competitive in Destiny anymore. But I think it would be beneficial to the entire community if there was a system that bucketed people with their peers and gave us a reason to actually try to get better. Because right now, part of the reason I don't play as often as I used to in competitive is because I don't feel like I'm going to be able to sharpen my skills by playing against this super lopsided matchmaking system that doesn't make sense to me. And I just think that that's a real problem. So
yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to sound like I know where you're
going.
I read the comments and people.
Yeah, I see the comments. They try to put you in this elitist.
People try to put me as like, he's an elitist and he wants to just stomp on people. It's like that's not the case at all. It really is.
I think Teddy said it best. I totally understand what you said. I think what Teddy said it best was, this is still a process for them, right? This is the tweaking to Witch Queen's eventual version of Trials. And I think the data, this week is the freelance. This week, they've always been so data heavy. And hopefully the hope is when that Witch Queen joint comes out, we get the accessibility with the non-matchmaking, right? We get the proper reward section where it's flushed out, where it's a lot, armor, there's different weapons, not just one little weapon and that's it, go away, right? And then we get the Travis, which is check this out. Remember how comp was? And you had the thing. Now everyone in legend tier or heroic or in the beginning, whatever tier you're at, you're matchmaking. You're more likely to always matchmake against those guys. So this way you're playing people of the same level. You get those 3 to 4s, those 5 to 4s. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm with you. Don't think I'm not with you on that. Like I am there. And I think it's just we're in that process again. We do agree.
I think
this
we
is an
agree
oddly
on most of the
not
stuff.
needed argument, but that's fine.
Yeah, it really is. But I just feel like we've talked about it on the show a ton of times, and I've never felt like I
got that part off. Yeah,
I got people to understand what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to create like an elitist paradise. I got you. I just want there to be a place for competitive and where the mode can feel better than it does today. Because personally, my experience, the reason, Cog, I'm really glad that you're having fun in Trials, but like I'm not. Like when I play Trials now, and not to say that I was having much more fun before when it was like filled with cheaters and like all that stuff.
That was a huge hurdle they had to get through.
Huge hurdle, obviously. But I'm just saying that like right now, my experience with it is that 90% of the time, probably more, we just destroy their team, and I'm done on the first ticket, and then I log off because I'm just not really having fun.
Yeah, you did what you had to do. You're done. Yeah.
I don't want to ruin everybody's day by just destroying them, right? But then I also don't want to get up against a team that's way outside of my skill level, and it's just it's so few and far between when I play a match. And to Teddy's point, they clearly care about that and they're working on it. I just don't see anywhere in what they're saying that they have any sort of plan to actually build out a system that is better than this is our best guess. Because Teddy and I have talked about this for a long time. It seems like they're doing it based off of playtime, how often you play Crucible, which is not a good metric for matching against people.
That's why I get screwed.
That's why Teddy gets screwed over, because he plays a lot more than the average player, and his skill level isn't at the same level of people who are playing all the time. And then, you know, I get probably on the opposite end, because I tend to go up against people who are not very good because my play time is lower these days against, and then, you know, I'm just, so it just isn't a good situation. I think that I don't think Witch Queen will be the time they fix this. I think if they fix it, it'll be down the road, because I just think they're way behind.
The hope is that they get there at some point. That's the hope.
I hope they get there. If they could get there by Witch Queen, I would be flabbergasted, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Befuddled, you could say. Any other fun words we can throw out there?
Besmirched. No, that's
besmirched.
Not, but, yeah.
Well, this is probably a good place to wrap it up, as shockingly when Teddy's here, we get a little long in the tooth, but that is okay, sir. I want to thank you for jumping on kind of last minute with us. I know I literally just reached out today, but I was like, you want to? And I hope you joined us. I feel like you were kind of staring at these two go at it a little bit for a little while, but hopefully you enjoyed joining us. But kind of as usual, the floor is yours. Let people know where to find you. If you're like, hey, I threw content in here, or whatever it is you're doing, what you're working on, or just if you got a cool project you're working on your own, just tell people what you're doing.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for coming to my TED Talk, where we aired our grievances and had our guardian therapy for the week.
Yep, that's what this is.
I said it at the beginning, and I didn't expect that to happen, but it worked out, I guess, in our favor. So yeah, thanks for having me. It's always fun to do these and chat with the family, and
you already know, all fam, all
talk about Destiny. Actually, I'm going to promote something I worked on recently, which is something I don't do often.
Nice.
So I helped. This was a very collaborative project, so I'm not going to take all credit for it. I did a very small part in it. We did the top 10 N64 games, which, if you know IGN's history, is actually very important to IGN's history, because IGN was founded on the same day the N64 came out.
Yes.
So they redid the list and all this stuff, and I did a bunch of the capture for the N64 games. Not all of it, but the vast majority of it. And I got some really cool tech behind the scenes that made it look really extra crispy and just perfect. And no one's gonna know any of that, but like it felt nice when we finished the video. And I'm like, it looked HD N64 on real hardware.
Yeah.
Oof.
What did the top 3 end up as, or can you say yet?
Yeah. We can't.
I won't spoil it. You can go watch the video, but you can probably guess the top 3. The N64 list is pretty small.
Is it out?
Yeah,
is it out yet or no?
Yeah, it's out. It's been out for a couple weeks. Yeah.
Okay, I'll look.
With a promo.
Yeah, it's
okay. Then I guess
Legend of Zelda.
I was gonna say
Mario
Ocarina of Time, Mario 64. I'm always torn on like 3, because those are always 2 high ones.
Perfect Dark, maybe GoldenEye.
GoldenEye, that would be favored if it's up there, at least by like enjoyment. Now it looks like trash, but who knows?
Just go look at the list.
Okay, yep. Go to the IGN top 10 N64 update. And then
if Ocarina of Time isn't number 1, we protest.
you can
Mark Medina put his thumb on the scale, because he would just say Mario 64 no matter what, you know.
Granted, Mario, I 100%ed both of those, but still, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, so good.
So yeah, I think Ebontis has it in the video. TeasingTeddy is my Twitter. I'm usually just either trolling these fine gentlemen or one of my coworkers, and I don't take Twitter seriously. So if you take it seriously, then I'm sorry that you found me.
People take Twitter seriously.
Yeah, they do.
I mean,
some people did today. I can go look at the reply of mine. Man, that was. I literally replied to DMG later on. I was like, I'm sorry to have started the Twitter fire. Is like, thanks for bringing the bug to our attention. I was like,
there you go.
Yeah. Travis, what about you?
Always happy to be here. So go ahead.
Yeah, I recently reviewed a game called The Rift Breaker. It's a RTS base builder with twin stick bullet hell stuff in it. The review went live earlier today.
I think it was
it's a very good game that is so complicated it will give you nightmares. So if that sounds like a fun experience to you, I recommend it. It's on Game Pass, actually. I gave it an 8 out of 10. You can read that on IGN.com. And then I'm also reviewing Riders Republic, which my review will probably be live next week, I hope. I mean, we'll see how long of a game it is. Haven't started it yet. I'm going to do that right after this. And then, you can read my reviews, previews, articles on IGN.com. You can follow me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis. You can watch me fight with Cog every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific. Every Thursday, we just start duking it out. We have makeup sex afterward, though. So it's fine. And then And then you can also watch me on Sundays at 8 a.m. Pacific on a show called Bitcast, which is kind of like a general gaming show with my friend Ames.
Shout out to your fathers, dear Rodrigo.
Yep. My friend Ames and a homeless wizard that wanders onto set each week. So we have good times together with that crew. That's me. How about you, Cog? Where can we find you?
I'm clipping that. I'm sending it. You be going in on him.
I told him I come up with a new disrespectful way to describe him every week on the show, and he was like, "Nice, respect."
I like the homeless wizard. That joint kind of fit. That was kind of dope. That was actually shout out to that. I love you, but he got you on that one. Listen, salute, man. Again, tremendous show. Shout out to Teddy pulling up, man. Always a pleasure. The calming influence to the wildness that me and Travis
he answered the call of the bat signal.
Yes.
I'm secretly always just angry inside. I'm just very calm.
Welcome to my TED Talk. On the inside, on the outside, I'm smooth.
My apologies to your comment boys. I know they go come for me. I apologize early, but it gets past. We love this.
It's gonna be fun.
We love this game.
As GK Bal said, no, or was it? And it was New Red. He's like, the YouTube comments will be the true show after this.
Yeah, listen. Please understand, YouTube comment boys, that it comes from a place of love. You don't get passionate discussion unless you love something. We all love this game. We all have our vision.
They've already written the comment. They're not listening this far.
Yeah, that's true.
That's already so posted and done.
I also don't argue with people I don't respect. Just to be clear, if you're an idiot,
way.
I ignore you. I'm just like, all right, believe whatever you want, right? But
that's why Travis doesn't argue with me.
I respect Trav, man. I love him. He's passionate. He's fearless in what he believes and he's willing to stand on it. And I'm the same way. And we share that. So it's cool to still do these type of discussions and still be respectful and not get crazy. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, with a disrespectful or personal attacks. That's the beauty of discussion. And people, I think sometimes in this community, everyone's afraid to kind of step on. And I like that about him. He's like, no, I disagree. And that's what it's about, man. Just being respectful. We're passionate. We love this game. Bungie, I had to get this work today because we had to talk about y'all. And I apologize, not personally. We still love y'all, but we just had to talk about y'all. But anyway, Lord Cognito on Twitter.
Friends are honest with each other.
Bungie. Not telling you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. That's what we're about. So, check us out. Lord Cognito, Iron Lords Podcast. Sunday, we'll be rocking with Chris Grinnell of ex-Sony from the Guerrilla Games days. Did F1, did the Wipeout, so on Sony Liverpool days. We're going to be catching up with him, so he'll be in the realm on Sunday. We'll check that out.
I'm going to have to keep the Dominus Maximus in check over there for a Sony guest.
Oh boy.
Nah. Grinnell is the homie. Like, that's literally the homie. Like, he's so cool. He's about King's foolishness. He'll tweak him, he'll mess with him, stuff like that. So it'll be fun. Check him out. We'll do his history. Defining Duke's up there, man. Speaking of heart to hearts, we had to talk about there's an Ultimate up right now. We had to talk about what's going on with messaging as far as Xbox and mixed messaging and false expectations about what games are going to be happening. And so check that out. That's a great one. And then we just did the regular Duke. That's up now and will be free on Sunday if you guys want to wait. Don't want to do the Patreon joint. And of course, lordsofgaming.net. Please check that out. And there's this podcast, this last word that he doesn't like me promoting live, but I'm going to promote it anyway.
I'm going to stop you right here because the only reason I have a problem with this is if they made it to the end of this 3-hour show, you're not promoting it to anybody who doesn't already make it this far into the show.
Listen, what if they click the video?
At the end of the show, because you're speaking to the loyalists, you say, tell your friends.
See, that I would be about. Right? Be like, tell your friends to come check us out. Not, hey, this is the show. That's all. It's like, hey, this is the great show.
Cog, just throw that in during your promotion.
And then I'm totally fine with it.
It's a loophole. It's a
loophole. So I gotta say, let me write it. What's the company line? We gotta say. What we gotta say? What's the company line now?
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Hit the like button. What else we say?
Leave us a review on iTunes. Leave us a review on iTunes.
What we on? We on Anchor? Where we at?
iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts.
Drop a tip in Ebontis' OnlyFans. Do that one too.
You got to find that link though.
Good luck.
Good luck.
That's gonna be the new caveat. That's gonna be the new caveat. E, what's going on with you, man?
Real quick, sorry. Shout out to your chat with Ryan McCaffrey. I think it was Defining Duke. I forgot the show and your co-host.
Yes, Maddie plays.
Really good. It was really good.
Thank you,
So.
brother. Yeah, man, Ryan, he's a legend, man. It was so humbling to have him on, and
the beginning of that couldn't have been better. The beginning of that, he got you guys. So I was like, oh man, you lost like straight out the gate. Done.
He's like, how you gonna be Duke saying nobody here got a Duke control? I was like, damn, we got OG check. It was
amazing.
golden. We had to take the L and move on. There was nothing you could do with that. Like, he was right.
I even looked it up on eBay. It's $30. Go buy one.
Sir.
True.
Did you buy one or did you find one?
Oh yeah, he probably already got one.
Sir.
There it is. You changed it right after when you were done with that episode. You bought it, didn't you?
Oh, we corrected that.
Was he going to bring out the bigger Duke?
Woo! Let's go.
The bigger
Duke battle.
The
Duke
biggest
battle.
baddest Duke.
Oh, we going left. You talk about the sponsors with us. You out here Duke comparing.
Anyway, for me, you guys know I got family in town for a little bit. Probably gonna watch Dune, of course. Okay, Travis, that was a good one. My OnlyFans would be cheetah print, but yeah, unfortunately, you'll never find cheetah print because it's always going to be leopard print. So therefore, you're never gonna find it. Actually, but for me,
you're gonna make it a thing.
You guys know me. I'm still going to be playing Destiny, making guides there, playing some New World. As soon as my monitor comes in, it's going to open up probably my backlog to games that I want to play in high resolution. So that's going to be third monitor, 4K 144, so I can go finally see mostly 4K for all the console stuff and then see some pretty things coming from there. So that's going to open some things up for me. Those I'll probably stream on Twitch. Still trying to figure out the streaming on YouTube for other times so I don't kill the videos that I do upload. But thank you guys. If you do want to support me directly, Patreon, join this channel as a member, find me, follow me, but also not just me, find, follow, like, subscribe, go be a Last Stand Media member, do all of those things to support all of these awesome gentlemen. If you go to IGN, refresh it like 100 times on that Rift Breaker review, I'm telling you, bump those numbers up,
Bump
please.
it up. Retweet,
get this
retweet
man.
the damn article.
I don't care for some reason, like, man, it seemed like there was a weird bug. We got like 20,000. Put a bot on that review. I don't care. It's just like, give it all the love that you guys can. If you can write a script, do it. Whatever it is.
Yeah, I didn't know you had a Patreon. What's your Patreon?
It's literally Ebontis like everything else.
Don't endorse that.
All right, I'm gonna go look for that. I had no idea.
There's not
Is that
much.
new?
No, it's been there forever, or it's been there for a while. There's not much to it. It's just if somebody wants to support direct. For some of you guys that do and don't know, the more you find those little off places to support somebody, the more the creator actually gets. So like Twitch is 50%, YouTube's about 70%. Patreon's about 90%. So depending on where your money goes is how much you actually support the people you actually like to follow. So whether it's anybody, check that stuff out. But for this episode and the chaotic mess that I kind of expected it would be, but I did not expect it to be the end discussion
about trials,
to be the spicy piece. But I guess I should have known better.
You should have known. It was
should have known
the whole time. I also was surprised by this. I was actually gonna. When we got to the segment, I was going to be like, I'm officially done talking about trials. I've given all my opinions and not comment on it. And I couldn't resist.
I couldn't resist.
The Larry David and me had to speak up.
I fell into it again.
Well, as usual, the Seinfeld. I was like, as well, the Seinfeld, the show about nothing. Or at least the show about things that don't matter. For this episode, you guys have been amazing. Great turnout tonight. Thank you guys all. Drop a like. Again, you know, the reviews, things help us out. So if you guys are here this long, feel free to support us all. But thank you guys for episode number 170. 30 to go to 200, so you can count them down.
Yeah.
But thank you all very much for this episode. It has been The
Last
Last Word.